Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. You might be well aware about Unacademy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is India's largest and the best online education platform. What are all the benefits you're likely to get once you enroll yourself in Unacademy? Ladies and gentlemen, if that's going to be your question, yes, you got live classes like this. You can chat with your educator. You can engage yourself in all-round productive discussions. You can also ask all your genuine doubts and participate in the answer polls. All these things you can do when the session's going on. You got structured courses here, which is completely based on UPSC civil service examination pattern and syllabus as well, so that we ensure you never get deviated from the expected framework. You stay on track. Ladies and gentlemen, one particular point we are keep on emphasizing, you might be well aware. What is that? It's not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff, because delivery matters. Yes, for that we have got mechanism, ladies and gentlemen, to evaluate your preparation in terms of various levels, especially by conducting regular mock tests and even quiz programs. You get in turn a detailed analysis based on your performance. You come to know where you are strong, where you are weak. Ladies and gentlemen, once you enroll yourself in Unacademy, you got unlimited access for more than 1 million videos, whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, desktop, irrespective of your electronic device. Ladies and gentlemen, you can learn from anywhere, anytime. Even today's topic is going to be centered around this. You can learn from anywhere, anytime. How? Because you know that the digital India, the initiative in India especially, and its impact on educational, the system of India, we are going to discuss at length. Yes, what you have to do for that, please download Unacademy learning app immediately. It's not only me. We more than 100 plus top educators of India, ladies and gentlemen, part of Unacademy with subject matter expertise, 20 to 25 years of field specific experience, ladies and gentlemen. We are waiting there for you so that you become officer or leader in your own capacity. Right? As I said, what you have to do, please download Unacademy learning app immediately, whether it is Android or iOS. Ladies and gentlemen, once you download, you are ready to access all those benefits. Right? What we have seen now. Yes, who is thus interacting with you? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath from Chennai. With unique experience of got exposed to the fields of engineering, management and legal education. With 25 years of experience, that in the field of coaching, especially shaping the careers of civil service aspirants. Ladies and gentlemen, with my team, I could witness the humble results. Of course, 250 plus results. That all my kids are working in different parts of India as IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS. Ladies and gentlemen, and also some of them in abroad as well, part of Union External Affairs Ministry as IFS. You might be well aware. You can also, that this situation should have prompted you to ask me the question, what's your vision, sir? If that's going to be your question, ladies and gentlemen, to be part of solution by simplifying the complexity. Fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely, that in alignment with Unacademy's vision. We are going to work together. Together, we are building communities. And to begin with, we are embracing Indian youth by providing career solution, later to embrace the global community. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also reach me through Telegram channel, say Unacademy_Sampath, or also, that a lot of my, videos already available, part of YouTube channel on the part of Unacademy, whether it is, highly scoring optional subject sociology or essay paper or ethics and integrity. This is otherwise called GS paper 4, part of your mains, and also the several topics associated with, international relations. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, having downloaded Unacademy, the very platform, of course, the app, you can also, watch a lot of my live videos when it comes to, the cutting across variety of segments of GS. Say, last 5 years questions of, the very general studies prelims, several questions. Having discussed that, that's a fantastic feedback we received from you. That encouraged us, that motivated us. What happened, right? Because of that, we started discussing, that the last 5 year question papers of, that the very mains GS also. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to MCQ, the prelims, several questions what we discussed came in, the prelims 2020 also. And that the fantastic feedback, thank you so much everyone, that for your passions and benefit out of Unacademy platform. Not only that, ladies and gentlemen, several topics what we discuss prior to that the very main 2020, especially ethics and integrity, what I discussed, several questions came. You please watch those videos, go back, and if you're already subscriber, you can watch those previous videos also, and link with go through the previous year question paper, you will come to know. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also reach me through Unacademy YouTube channel by using my ID, say Success Sampath or Sampath Irvengidam, and that you can also reach me through my social network tools by using my referral ID, maybe Success Sampath Irvengidam. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you once again to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Right, it is right time. Let me take you to the next level. Under UPSC Civil Service Examination, ladies and gentlemen, you got more than 15,000 courses. You might be well aware, right? But we strongly recommend Iconic as well as Plus program. Why Iconic? Because you will be allotted a personal coach, a mentor to understand your nature and to suggest study planner accordingly. You can, that personalize or customize your planning. Not only that, you will be trained on everyday basis in terms of answer writing exercises. This will completely accelerate your preparation to the next level. Though it is virtual learning, you'll be getting individual attention through a personal coach mentor. That is what Iconic program. Equally, that valuable, of course, the Plus program, it has got its own advantages. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever may be, that your situation, that the Unacademy has got its own, the flexible modules. You might be aware, whether it is 6 months program, 12 months program, 24 months program, 36 months program. Maybe if you're work going, college going, that aspirants, you need not stress yourself. Flexibly, you can plan, that if not 2021, you plan for 2022, 2023, and that you try to, that choose program and also prepare in such way. This is what, for that, please use my referral ID, say Success, to avail maximum 10% discount. If it is for Plus program, ladies and gentlemen, almost you get 9,000 rupees, the discount, you can save that money. And when it is, that the very Iconic program, ladies and gentlemen, it talks about almost, 25,000 rupees you can save. Technically speaking, you end up paying mere 80 to 100 rupees. If you calculate in terms of per day basis, the very money what you spend on your evening snacks, it is as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. So, but you ensure your career that way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. It's not only me, as I told you, right? Variety of teams on the part of Unacademy waiting there to support you. Whether it is 6 months program, 1 year program, 2 years program, or basic NCERT batches, meant for prelims. Ladies and gentlemen, whether it is complete, that English medium, that meant for South Indians or throughout Indian, English medium educated people, or exclusive Hindi medium or bilingual. Ladies and gentlemen, you got courses here on the part of Unacademy. And here also you can go for either combination of Iconic program as well as the Plus program. The GS you can choose from Iconic, or Plus, the very optional subject you can choose for Plus program, or you can choose both from Plus alone. It's up to you. See your convenience. Here too we have 1 year program, 2 years program, 3 years program. Use my referral ID, say Success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, you come to know. Right? Yes. Now this is time. Let me take you in to the very purpose and direction of today's interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. Once again. Meanwhile, let me check. That the people join me. Yeah. Of course, that's fantastic. Sorry. Welcome to Unacademy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. This is in continuation of that the variety of the sessions you already attended, part of YouTube channel of Unacademy. Yes, it is centered around that your general studies. That to general studies, that the mains we are focusing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's also going to be useful for your prelims as well as interview preparation. The topic today is centered around digital initiative. Given a new normal, what you witness, because of the COVID-19 situation, of course, government's effort, in terms of, that providing solution by vaccination program, that Covishield, that Covaxin, that we are talking about. Of course, thanks to the Serum Institute, the Pune based, as well as, that the biotech of Hyderabad. Ladies and gentlemen, we became part of the solution among select countries, whether it is AstraZeneca or Moderna, Pfizer. We are talking about, we are one among the top 3 people to be part of the solution. Why? That's fantastic. The same way, that it is self-reliance in technology. Even when, that the ISRO, either, the great legends, of course, the leaders, that of space mission of India, the founder of space program, otherwise, that whether it is Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, or even at that till date, of course, the Dr. Shivan, the prior to, Dr. Kalam we are talking about, even, the Dr. Anadurai and Dr. Shivadanu Pillai, that the great people are there, and Dr. Satish Chandra, that we are talking about variety of people, of course, from India. Then when you talk about, space program, sorry, there came several questions, actually media criticism. When people are starving here in India, how come you can go for, that thinking of, that launching rocket or putting satellite that way? Maybe, that's a tone of, the communist parties. Of course, that maybe the left thinking, alternative thinking we are talking about. Of course, that even Pandit Nehru spoke in such a way. Without self-reliance in technology, providing solution or eradicating social evils may not be possible. The self-reliance in technology is a need of the hour. It's going to be a solution to eradicate all social issues part of India. That is what the answer given by, that then, of course, Prime Minister, of course, Pandit Nehru. Got the idea? Na? So even Dr. Kalam, when he was talking about his mission, first mission failure, of course, that the media people with big cameras, he used to tell that way. You put, that 500 crores in the Bay of Bengal. Any experiment. Of course, India is a country, of course, for that, what is the counter argument? India as a country during, Diwali holidays, of course, celebration, we spend 10,000 crores in terms of, bursting crackers, though it is adding, the carbon in the atmosphere, threatening the very livelihood in the name of global warming, climate change. But of course, that all these people part of scientific community, because taxpayers' money, they are accountable, they are answerable. So the way with which, that the leadership shown in the space program, and of course, what is the message? Self-reliance in technology, that is the panacea. That's going to provide solution for all social evils, or social issues on the part of India, to eradicate them especially. So of course, that this is in continuation. So, the thanks to that green revolution, of course, what we wanted now, evergreen revolution we are talking about. Of course, nothing is free from criticism. That's a part. But India attained self-sufficiency in food grains because of that green revolution. And that the several 5-year, the programs through planning commission, several plans, fantastic. Of course, that the industrial development, of course, that we eradicated, Garbi Hatavo program we are talking about. So, and also, to arrest widening inequality between rich and poor. And there comes, that another thing, that because we are in 21st century, that if you want to move to the next level, that demands your creativity, innovation, technology. So without the support of technology, it may not be possible for us to go to the next level, because the 21st century, your next level demands your next version, the 2.0. Of course, there comes that the technology-based solution. Of course, that very well, out of our 100 rupees, whatever we earn in India's GDP, 55 rupees because of the service sector. That too, that the thanks to information technology, the advancement in communication technology we had, that has got linked with that our communication satellites, linked with space program also, you might be well aware. And that the several initiatives we took through through electronics industry, Department of Electronics we are talking about. Of course, that began with the 1980s, that Sam Pitroda, the Rajiv Gandhi, former Prime Minister's friend. Of course, the liberalization, that LPG, new economic policy, further, that took us to the next level. Of course, today we are in different scenario, in different level, not indifferent level, in different level. Next level we are talking about. So this particular, the digital initiative is what I'm talking about, to be part of the solution. Several things you would have heard. That a national digital library, that to simply speak, we are going to elaborate, don't worry. The Swayam portal we are talking about, and all e-kranti, e-governance, e-education, and given, the COVID, the new normal, what we witness, it's because of the advancement in communication technology, the internet revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, that we could address, that the several issues on the part of education sector and other sectors, even the health sector, put together, the social sectors we are talking about. So we can also, that take leverage, otherwise take into account, that the support of, technology to the next level to benefit more. So this is the very purpose. What is the point we are talking about? The way with which, that we took information and communication technology to that level, the way with which we benefited when comparing with, the China, which is very less. Why? It's because of the thing we are yet to penetrate, the great masses in India through internet services. And maybe, of course, the PM money we are talking about, the Wi-Fi, that the net, the access network interface we are talking about. So several measures we are going to discuss, that benefited India, of course, we are talking about. And also, at the same time, we have to, that the gap between, the rural poor, the rural region and the urban region. It is not, the technology is not, equally accessible to all the, the rural people or poor people. There comes, responsibility on the part of the government to make it happen. Of course, several initiatives they took into account, the very e-governance, the digital India, the digital initiatives. When it comes to education sector, the 29 initiatives we are going to discuss, ladies and gentlemen. The digitalization, digital India program that took us to the next level. And of course, whether it is, direct benefit transfer, of course, with the support of, Aadhaar, the Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, the Digi Locker, even to save the documents, everything. And of course, that it is not living in the past, ladies and gentlemen. We took advantage of the technology. Of course, thanks to all those, that our R&D bet, and we have to work more for the future when it comes to the pace with which, that it develops. Even World Bank, that even, that World Development Report or UNESCO report speaking in such a way. How, that the private, that, educational institutions whose contribution to the education sector and government institution, the quality education enrollment ratio in higher education and elementary education, primary education, even the very liberal education, that enunciated by education policy, the new education policy can be realistic only with the support of technology. This Digital India initiative, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss at length. That is what the motto today. Of course, that, and before going there, of course, there comes my the systematic process. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you the very agenda. What is that? Of course, that this is part of your general studies, which has got crucial role when it comes to UPSC civil service examination preparation. I used to tell an average 1,200 marks the contribution from this general studies out of your 2025. The 2025 mains written and an interview score put together. UPSC civil service examination, mains written and interview put together 2025 you talk about, where the role of GS and an average around 1,002. See, ladies and gentlemen, out of 2025, if you get 1,000 marks, you would have become IAS officer. Think about this. The general studies has got crucial role to play in every session. I'm emphasizing, ladies and gentlemen. Let me speak this way. When you talk about UPSC civil service examination preparation, ladies and gentlemen, there is a slogan, Jack of all, master of one subject. The master of one subject, of course, it is optional subject. Jack of all, what is that? That's otherwise, they call general studies paper. The very general studies you're talking about. When you say general studies, which has got, the 200 marks in prelims, you got, that the objective type questions. Whereas in, that the mains, of course, that 750 marks, GS paper 1, 2, 3. Per paper, 250 marks, 3 into 250, 750 marks. You're going to write 2 essays, of course, that meant for 250 marks. With the, the preparation, what you did on the part of GS will help you there. And also, when you talk about, very optional subject, ladies and gentlemen, say, that 500 marks, where paper 2 of all your social sciences linked with the current relevance of Indian context, there which has got the responsibility of around 150 marks, you touch, everything with the support of the initiatives taken from government of India, or in terms of Supreme Court judgment or amendment, articles, schedule, or schemes, policies, programs, budget, economic survey, everything. So that's relevant to the current affairs. Or India's rating by the global rating agencies, or various indices, or committee commission recommendations, or several case studies from India, that has got relevance to the very GS. Even the oral interview, out of 275 marks, ladies and gentlemen, this general studies will occupy the role of 100 to 150 marks. See, put together, it has got almost 1,500 marks contribution from the very general studies paper. But let me, make it round when it comes to mains, both written and interview put together, because prelims is mere qualifying nature, you might be aware. 1,200 marks we're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about, general studies, of course, you might be aware, which has got, that 77:3 ratio. 70%, that belonging to dynamic portion, 30% belonging to static portion. The dynamic portion is otherwise called current affairs. When you say general studies, you might be aware, of course, the several segments of GS, whether it is environmental science, or science and technology, or Indian polity, constitution, governance, or Indian economy, or you talk about the history, ancient India, medieval India, modern India. Even in the mains, you've got postmodern India, and also the geography, Indian geography, world geography, where you're talking about, and also that the very international relations, and also GK portion, art and culture, everything, that where you generalize 70% static, that the very dynamic portion related to current affairs, 30% belonging to, of course, static portion that you meet with the support of NCERT books as well as textbooks. Ladies and gentlemen, where so GS has got crucial role to play. That's why I've taken up, that all my discussions, this is apart from my discussion centered around optional subject, you might be aware. So where I, that it's not, out of my own whims and fancies, I speak, I interact with you, because, Yettu choraka kariki oduvanu. There is a saying in Tamil. Whatever we do, it should not be, that theoretical. It should be, that pragmatic. From pragmatic angle, it should benefit you. Whenever you participate in the UPSC civil service examination, you should be in a position of, that scoring more marks so that you become topper. The purpose. We are on purpose. And also with direction. So it's not mere purpose alone, direction. So it's not talking about mere progress. The purpose, so from progress in terms of purpose and direction, ladies and gentlemen. So of course, that you are exactly on track if you're going to, that strictly adhere to the process what we are suggesting here. Of course, what is the context, that why I took up, that what came to my mind, why, that this discussion in this way. The context, that because for that, the previous year question paper, especially the mains 2020, where there came, one question, of course, the digital initiatives taken by India and its impact on, that the promoting, that educational sector, that there comes. So, that though question is restricted to education sector, our discussion is going to be, very broad based. But finally, we will give more emphasis on that, education sector also. Ladies and gentlemen, so that, I got inspired, of course, ladies and gentlemen. So under several topics, that India's digital transformation, why, what, when, where, and impact, and the advantages, of course, the way forward, everything, is going to be part of the topics. And also digital India as a culture, a new way of India. That nowadays you don't, that it's not carrying, cash, currencies. You're not bothered about your purse. You simply take your mobile phone wherever you go. So where you got, that ultimately Google Pay, that BIM app, that you talk about, the Paytm. That's all. You don't need your purse. You don't need to take your card also. Whether it is, the debit card, that I don't use credit card. Of course, I'm talking about. So simply mobile phone with which you can do all round transaction. E-commerce we are talking about. That's, the new way of life, for which, you just go for a walk, you finish your shopping. Why it's realistic? It's because of the technology. Thanks to information and communication, that ICT, the technology revolution, India benefited more, and yet we have to address the gap, because, that the internet penetration is only 50%. And also when it comes to, that all these discussions, two key words I'm talking about, affordability and accessibility. That's a key we are talking about. So of course, there is a gap, still gap between rural and urban areas. between the affordable people and people who lack affordability, and even the R&D section people with capability in terms of the capturing the technology, ladies and gentlemen. And also the comparison between India and China, of course, there comes the huge gap. What though the government is very keen that in utilizing that all those efforts, the technological solution, the self-reliance in technology, and trying to strengthen its own R&D sector through that you might be that aware, it is Make in India campaign we are talking about, or Skills India. And even why, when you are talking about average that the citizen of China whose skill sets, and average that the citizen of India and his skill sets, there is a gap. Of course, it has become cottage-based industries when you talk about China and Southeast Asian countries in making of mobile phone, all those electronic goods. But what our people are doing, they are making BD, they are working in tiles industry, they are making the foods. Of course, making idli dosa. Hello. Of course, it's not belittling. The profession is always professional. I'm talking about why it's not the next level skill. Why they can't be enabled. And given the fact India, the youngest country in the aging world, why can't we reap the benefits out of this population dividend by enabling them, by investing more? Of course, we take the Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, the Kaushal Yojana we are talking about, and also even the informal workforce, given the formal, the certificates, diploma certificates, initiatives. Several initiatives we are taking into account, ladies and gentlemen, and given COVID situation also, that revealed us how vulnerable we are when we talk about the migrant labor force. Oh my God! So several things, of course, thanks to the technology, it's cutting across variety of sectors. Even the Ayushman Bharat we are talking about, even the COVID situation, the delivery services. How come you can make difference? Of course, the digital nation. In what way it is going to benefit? Benefit the citizens of this particular country when it comes to the services. How it can be the very the goods and services can be delivered with the support of the technology we are going to talk about. And beyond that, education related challenges, where our prime minister that speaking about all these things, though this initiative that of course the 2015 that India took up to the next level. Of course, it's almost right the sixth year we are, and what are all the that achievements we have done so far, and what are all the things that can be done to improvise to the next level, we are going to discuss, ladies and gentlemen. So digital initiatives in India, but the specificity in terms of education sector, that was the question. But let's talk. Of course, that when you want to discuss this particular topic, it can go for part 1, 2, 3 like that, but somewhat I restrict. It is my humble attempt with the blessings of the God. Probably after that, that if you want more also, we can discuss in future. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. And also the resources to be consulted. I'm becoming your base. And in what way we can move to the next level with that, the foundational information we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Of course, I said the very important role played by the general studies, and that too that in terms of the dynamic portion or current affairs 70% around, or static portion of course the 30% around, and also jack of all. That's what general studies, cutting across variety of segments. This examination preparation is all about your 50% score. And that in schooling and college days, you would have gone to the extent of 70%, 80% score. Can't you get 50% score? That's highly realistic. That too, if you're going to focus more, this is apart from what the score you are going to get out of your oral interview and optional subject I'm talking about. The very general studies itself is capable of making you as officer, all India topper. How? As I said, the role 1200 marks out of 2025. You get 1000 marks alone, you become the topper. That's the thing going on. You just go through the previous year cutoff, you will come to know. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. Right. I think that you understood. Jack of all, master of one optional subject, the jack of all. That's general studies. You understood the important role played by. That's why that we have taken into account the very the segment of GS, the cutting across various segments. Of course, the 2020 question, the 250 words you are supposed to write for 15 marks. Of course, the thumb rule. If you want to score 1 mark in UPSC examination, mains written especially, you are supposed to write minimum 15 to 20 words. That within 1 minute. 1 minute. 15 to 20 words, ladies and gentlemen. So it talks about, word economy, time management, even why space management I'm talking about. And given space, the booklet where answers will be printed. It's not writing one question at the cost of another question. So that demands practice. What we are doing is, so that you stay on track. Of course, I've got wide angle approach for that. You please watch those videos. When you approach examination, there'll be questions, the discussion alone. But now I've taken up, that a topic for discussion, that got inspired by the previous question. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you got the idea. So, Sithiramam Kaipazhakam, Sendamizhum Nappazhakam. What is the point? In Tamil. Practice makes everyone perfect. I keep on emphasizing, at least one day fine morning. Sometimes it may reach you, ladies and gentlemen, so that you stay on track. That's the purpose. Practice, practice. It's not like conventional university education, right? It is, it's competitive examination. How capable you are in edging out all those guys out of competition. How special you are. This competitive examination is all about that, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about, of course, that's why 15 marks, 250 words, that the very question came in 2020, part of, GS paper 1. What is that question? How have digital initiatives in India contributed to the functioning of educational system in the country? The functioning of education system in the country and digital initiatives in India. See how this digitalization, Digital India program contributed to the so-called education system. And elaborate your answer. You would have realized very well, given COVID situation, how we benefited out of, your laptop, desktop, your internet connection. And, of course, even 40 Mbps, of course, that you get for unlimited connection, data, around 500 rupees. That is what today. But it's but in China you get more cheaper than this. There comes another question. Of course, you can talk about, that why we can't give the free Wi-Fi everywhere. Government took PM Money program. We are talking about all, the hotspots, your pawn shop, the tea shop. Everywhere you will be given, the free Wi-Fi connectivity, so that, that talks about e-commerce. So there also question ultimately, are we falling prey to, the plot or machination of the corporate world? You are given Wi-Fi, of course, that, so that data is a commodity. You are getting manipulated in the world of, that information technology. Of course, when we talk about variety of, that the robotics, artificial intelligence, of course, that the very blockchain technology, we talk about, everything. There, this, that the world of artificial intelligence, handling of information, your data is commodity. Are we getting manipulated? Because, even in your social network, when you search something accordingly, sponsored, though you may not be interested, the algorithm with which, that you are suggested in such a way. You're forced to buy, promoting the consumerism tendency, because it's a big market. Even so, to take, the leverage of, the big market in India is technology, a tool, so that, you are getting manipulated. You are treated like a data. As a data is a commodity, of course, in the world of big data. And there comes, that what way we are, safe and secure. Are we free from that cyber snooping or cyber crimes we are talking about? In what way the nation is, that prepared to ensure, data privacy? This particular question came when we were talking about Aadhaar itself, the Supreme Court judgment. The right to privacy is part and parcel of, fundamental right. The judgment came, you might be well aware. And also section 69A of, that Information Technology Act, given the world, of course, the social media has become, selfish medium. The fake news, otherwise, that you talk about everything, variety of, that, so, character assassination, indulgent in social world. So all these exercises, how we are going to deal with it. So several things, we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, come back. So, but in a given COVID situation, we benefited more thanks to that, information and communication technology revolution. But that all people are not bestowed with laptop or internet connection. Though we have made it very cheaper, even the smartphone access we are talking about. So it's only 50% on an average, but there are also variety of differences when you speak about urban area and rural area. We are going to talk about the statistics. The government utilizing even Doordarshan through the television, the spreading information. And also, the Google, separate Google channel, the YouTube channel. in spite of that, there is a gap. How we are going to address the gap? We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take you to the next level. This is right time. Yes. So this, that initiative, the digital initiatives in India, the digital India. Of course, we are feeling proud. Even that the Prime Minister Modi ji, wherever he goes, that he never hesitates to emphasize why the Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana combined with the very Aadhaar, as well as the smartphone mobile access. What we are talking about, that became realistic. It changed the way of life, style of life of every Indian. As I said, that you don't carry your purse, you don't carry your passbook, you don't go to bank every time to get the cash, that everything happened, that through your mobile phone. You got internet connection and smartphone, everything is possible. You need only app. You have to access the app, to download everything. All, the e-transaction, e-commerce carried out. So thanks to that technology we are talking about. So this we started in 2015 alone. The 6th year we are undergoing, and several, the steps we are ahead now, ladies and gentlemen. But in spite of that, we have to address, the gap, because, that the very social injustice, and given the poverty, given the illiteracy, and given widening inequality between rich and poor, given the gap between rural and urban areas. So all these, the problems getting reflected in terms of the accessibility. As I said in the beginning, affordability and accessibility, that's the key phrases we are talking about. Key phrase here which has got impact here too. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, even the very green revolution, globalization, the constant statement what we make, the rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. It's widening. Is it technology induced, there's a gap between rich and poor, or gap between rural and urban areas? So there comes the role of the government to arrest, the widening gap, and to establish justice, and to be part of solution. It is that way. In spite of that, ladies and gentlemen, I see everywhere. It is not government took initiative, that the necessity is mother of invention. Everybody, even your house, the karamchari, you call it, everybody, housekeeping, that lady, that everyone, your paper boy, everybody with mobile phone, smartphone and internet, that we witness. Of course, that it may be realistic in urban area. What about rural area? We are talking in that particular tone also parallelly. So all school students or college students may not be accessible, except, that some states with free laptop, freebies we are talking about. And what about internet connection? And several things, even the electricity support, the non-stop, that we talk about energy security also. Ladies and gentlemen, so of course, to make this digital and India realistic, and with the power to empower the people all around, you need the support of internet penetration and energy security, as well as, that the persistent problem, the social injustices, of course, the social issues we are talking about, the poverty, illiteracy, all those isms, that we have to, that go beyond that without addressing those, that the persistent issues, long term present, that issues, the making, that digital India, it's to some extent a little bit difficult. We are talking about. So we have to, that parallelly check that also. There comes, that our consciousness too. Yes. Yes, India's digital transformation, when you talk about it, there is little doubt that China has stolen a march on India when it comes to leveraging the internet. Of course, when we compare India with China, of course, one Basu, the Kaushik Basu, that he was a great economist. Formerly, he was, advisor to the Prime Minister of India, chief economic advisor, and part of international institution he might be, whose article, that I took some leverage also, ladies and gentlemen. So, of the top 20 internet companies in the world, 13 are American, 5 are Chinese, with 1 each from Japan and UK. Where is India? Already there is a gap between India and China in Asia, South Asia, but think about at global level. So, that even in China, the Alibaba, we don't know where is Jack Ma, that's a different story. The China, the communist nation, where there is no election, all around human right violation, environmental degradation, aggressive policy, one belt, one road initiative with which it's trying to, trap, making, other nations in the world as dead trapped. Already our neighborhood rogue nation, Pakistan, got trapped through China-Pakistan economic corridor. Except India, all nations became part of that because we want to preserve our sovereignty. We discussed everything. But the very China, because they don't have democracy. But of course, democracy, there is another accusation against democracy. where we talk about opposition party, where we talk about free media, freedom, everything, where too many cooks spoiling the food. Every day the prime minister or union cabinet ministers, every day they have to talk about, status report. But they did nothing when there were other regimes also. I don't know why this partiality, discrimination. So this and all we have to wake up to the reality. Of course, in China. So, but when you speak, the proud things about China as a nation, but it has got other side of the coin. You have to understand. It's possible. Why? It's a communist country. There is no free media, state control news. The Xinhua news agency. What do you get? State control news. The pro-democracy movements, how they have been suppressed in the Tiananmen Square. You might be aware. Now we say we don't know where Jack Ma is gone, the founder of Alibaba. Of course, the very company Alibaba's, that you might be aware, that Jack Ma's, that Alibaba, the China's largest e-commerce company, has market capitalization that is 25 times higher than that of, Flipkart. This is, that the Flipkart, you might be aware, Snapdeal, Flipkart, everything, the largest e-commerce company in India. 25 times, through market capitalization. And now we are talking about Jeff Bezos, that Amazon. Oh my God, it is, where is India we are talking about? So you have to understand the difference, the gap between India and China, that in the Asia, South Asia, this is apart from that. So why did India, which has had the remarkable achievement of being the largest exporter of information technology? That's what I said in the beginning. For every 100 rupees we earn, the GDP, otherwise 55% of the GDP is decided by this service sector, especially the information technology revolution, the export of our software. That English, that educated and English speaking or engineering educated. That's why, that on the one side we are talking about, deteriorating quality in engineering education through self-finance colleges, the mushrooming of several self-finance colleges. But thanks to that measure also parallelly, these several self-financing colleges are responsible for producing several engineers, even the people from North India, different parts of India, getting educated in the South India. That's why, that immediately that's absorbed by, the very information technology revolution, IT companies. But today, the situation is different scenario. That not all, that engineering graduates are absorbed, because it's not, employment is not the issue. Employability is the issue. Even NASCOM reinforcing that particular point. So the people come out of engineering colleges are, that not qualified enough. They should be trained. The finishing school program should be done. Otherwise, that the employability skills should be enabled. Then only they can be placed. That's a different scenario we are talking about. So English speaking, engineering educated, that the graduates in India, that they made it realistic. The boom in information technology, because what's that? Of course, that even the United States of America and several countries, outsource their projects to India. The BPO, KPO industry we are talking about. Yes. So the service sector, 55% out of GDP. So, that it's because of the information technology. So come back. So why did India, which has had a remarkable achievement of being the largest exporter of information technology services and skilled manpower, you understand? Skilled manpower among developing countries, but it falls behind China in digitally transforming its economy. When it comes to, digitally transforming economy, India falls behind China. That's a message. Though we are largest exporter of information technology services and skilled manpower, when you talk about all developing countries in the world, or have we, that comeback? Is it now, that making a comeback we are talking about? There comes that particular question. Why? What is the reason behind it? Of course, why? That because we need to encash the digital dividend. The digital divide, of course, that we have to address by ensuring that, only 50% we have got internet penetration. We have to make it 100%. And before addressing, we have to address, several issues we are talking about. So the World Bank's recently released the World Development Report talking about, that the digital dividends, that provides some answers. What are the countries, they benefited more? But they encash more because of the the leverage in terms of the digital technology or digitalization programs. So the World Development Report also finds that digital technologies have spread rapidly throughout that the much of the world, but the digital dividends the broader development benefits from using these technologies, but they are lagging behind. Of course, in terms of implementation, even India, in terms of the digital India, fantastic. But what about digital dividend? Have we benefited out of it as we expected, or why what's stopping us? Same thing what we said for green revolution, new economic policy, or globalization, or economic reforms. The same thing for the digital India. Because that unless until you resolve the foundational issues like the poverty, illiteracy, widening gap between rich and poor, or the malnourishment, or sex ratio imbalances, or corruption, the gender injustice, or transgender injustice, or child labor, or challenges of differently abled people, or problems of minority or Dalit community, downtrodden people, or small and marginalized sections of agricultural community. Unless until we address the problems meant for all these people, the same thing what we said for the green revolution or economic reforms, part of globalization, same thing we are going to talk when it comes to technology also, even digital India. So let's come on, ladies and gentlemen, wake up. If you don't set right the foundation, whatever the number of stories you build on that, it's mockery of the whole foundation. So let us strengthen the foundation. That comes ultimately. So the government is very keen. We are talking about, of course, in what way? Hitherto some of the problems persisting. We are trying to, that we could reduce, mitigate. But in spite of that, the remnant things, that can't we reduce? Can't we mitigate through support of technology? Now that's what that all delivery, the services to the citizens with the support of technology. That's possible. So the several decades old, that several social issues can be just like that eradicated with the support of technology. Of course, where we are talking about Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, linking with Aadhaar card. Every citizen can link with bank account, Aadhaar card. Where you talk about direct benefit transfer, even subsidies. Just that you avoid intermediaries, you avoid corruption, you avoid red tapeism, you avoid procedural delays. It directly reaches the very poor people. How it's possible with the support of technology. But in spite of that, there is accusation. What is that? So the way with which the implementation of digital technology, the spread it happened in the world, and the way with which that we benefit because of that, we encash the digital dividend. What we are talking about. So the broader developmental benefits, that through this, digital technology, we are talking about. India is lagging behind China, especially. So this is, World Bank's, that recently, World Bank, World Development, that a report we are talking about digital dividend. Because ladies and gentlemen, that way, I think it is right time. Let me take you to the next level. Not only that, in many instances, digital technologies have boosted the growth, expanded the opportunities, and improved the service delivery we are talking about. In many instances. Ladies and gentlemen, so the growth became realistic, because productivity, you just imagine, that you go and stand, in the queue, the bank or whatever it may be for your transaction, or even the supermarket. Come on. With the technology, that everything at your doorstep, that it's delivered, even whether it is food, that very Swiggy started focusing on grocery items given COVID situation, you might be aware. The technology facilitating your transportation. No more you wait for, you need not invest much money in your, the luxury car also. That Ola, that ultimately Uber supporting you. And that at your doorstep, that you get Amazon services. Technology, thanks to the technology. The communication, ICT, information and communication technology. The digital penetration, everything happens through your, the very smartphone we are talking about. So that reduces your, the time you waste, that in terms of focusing on physical infrastructure. So that productivity goes up. So you save money, you invest. So that it's not only that the quality, improved service delivery also. You got choices. You don't restrict your, that your purchasing power, because of availability of, few vendors. Got the idea? So the technology facilitating, but there comes another, the criticism also. You get only, the censored or restricted information. Because that it has been through algorithm. If you enjoy free Wi-Fi, there comes another, that criticism also. So expanded opportunities we are talking about. So digital India, digitalization, that we witness now. That of course article talking about it, we witnessed that. Yet their aggregate impact, the impact has fallen short and is unevenly distributed. That's what there is a gap. It's not uniform, it's not balanced. Of course, that between rural and urban, between the affordable and people who lack affordability. So the report argues that for digital technologies to confer their full benefit on society, it is vital. It is very important to close the digital divide. Huh? It's not social economic inequality. The technological inequality, technological illiterates we are talking about, especially in internet access. Talking about internet access. So, ladies and gentlemen, there comes, the responsibility of the government to arrest this widening, digital divide. We are talking about, of course, the government did through, the PM, it's not Vani, VANI, oh my God, it is WANI, that it is that way. See, this, forget this. What is this? So, that we talk about, of course, Wi-Fi access network internet. So the Prime Minister, that Vani program is a solution for that. Because 50% internet access we are talking about, why can't we make it 100%? The smartphone plus internet access with Aadhaar card linking over. Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, you're directly connected. And various apps you download, whether it is Google app or Paytm or BIM, you got variety of things, well. Ladies and gentlemen, so the banking process has become, very simpler nowadays. Once you download app, whatever may be the purpose, you download the app, you explore the app, it's over. You can take advantage of the app in the technology facilitating, the very digital India facilitating, the digitalization program facilitating it, that we have to work towards it, ladies and gentlemen. But greater, the digital adoption will not be enough. That the greater digital adoption will not be enough. We are talking about to get the most out of the digital revolution, ladies and gentlemen. Countries also need to work on its analog the complements we are talking about. That so it's not the digital equipments alone. You got analog equipments. The digital technology, analog equipments we are talking about. By strengthening the very regulations that ensure the competition among businesses, and by adapting worker skills, we have to enable them. The technology is there. Are you ready to use the technology? Is it friendly to you? That's important. That demands your training part. Of course, skill enablement. The demands of, these are all the various demands on the part of, the new economy we are talking about. And by ensuring that the government institutions and others are, that accountable towards this, ladies and gentlemen, there comes, responsibility. So even the educational, the institution, engineering education, that when I was doing, engineering, there was a gap between what I studied when I was doing engineering and the market, 20 years gap. I read, data communication, Tannenbaum. The market access is totally different. 20 years gap. What is the use? So constant, upgradation of that. Now they have done syllabus upgradation, I believe, that AICTE took into account. So it is that way we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen. So the constant updation of the very syllabus. So industry institution tie up to match the requirement of industry. The educational institutions, that they should train the graduates in such a way. It's not making them as employees, at the same time making them as leaders of tomorrow, so that they become entrepreneurs. They stand on their own capacity. So even the 4 years of education, that the 2 years should be completely in terms of, the internship, that attached with any one of the industries of that particular branch of engineering. That's the purpose. So what is the use of theory? We know what's happening. It's a bogus. Only during study holidays, kids are, opening the book. Rest of the days, college process. Of course, the overall, personality development, the tour, exposure, fantastic. I understand. But if you speak only from that, is 4 years. It's a waste of time, much of the time. Hope that the very policy that will work towards that particular direction. Otherwise, make it that letter and spirit productive. It's not wasting time. That otherwise it is that way. So it's serious business. It's not a comedy. Ladies and gentlemen, so measuring the performance of that India and China with World Development report metrics of connectivity and compliments that shows why India is not yet taken full advantage of digital revolution. See, at the end of 24, this data speaks. But today I'm saying 50% of internet access. Only, that Indians, only 50% of Indians, that they have internet access on an average. I'm talking about. But that India had, that otherwise 50% are yet to access internet. Maybe lack of affordability, maybe old age people or technical illiteracy. Maybe they are yet to come out of, roti kapda makan, the basic amenities. Otherwise, maybe the government had to reach them by various reasons. So India had, that. So in 2014, I'm talking about. Today it is 50%. Ladies and gentlemen. So India had 227 million internet users compared to 6. So it is this comparison in 2014 I'm talking about. Today, according to World Economic Forum, the India is with 50% of that internet users. We are talking about. Otherwise, 50% of the people yet to access. We have moved to that level we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So it's that way. So almost, from 22% to 50% we have come, I'm talking about that. So fewer than, when you talk about, the China, the online presence, of course, we talk about 2 out of 5 people, 2 out of 5 Indian, the businesses had an, that you talk about, the bet, whereas 1 out of 3 in China. So when you talk about, Indian businesses, that, and especially the online presence, they're still in traditional mode. They don't have, the website, the portal, the app. It is that way. Their presence in social network or digital marketing. It is that way. So we talk about, that only 2 out of 5 people, that in Indian businesses, you see the online presence we are talking about. In the world of information and communication technology revolution, or digital India, or digitalization, a digital world. Almost, this is can be compared with, this particular thing can be compared with China, where 1/3 of, you just imagine, 1/3 of, that the firms. This is I'm talking about. 2/3 of the firms. Got the idea, na? 1/3 not. So 2/3 of the firms, but 2/5 we are talking about. See the difference between India and China. So we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and also the cost of, that one, that mega, the bits, the per second, that it is 6 to 10 times higher than China. We are talking about, this report speaks. But today in India, you might be aware, 40 mega Mbps, that unlimited data. Otherwise, you talk about in a monthly basis for 500 rupees you get. So that's what we are talking about. But in spite of that, our gap with China, that's different. So the statistics speaks, that in such a way, 6 to 10 times, higher than that of, the very China we are talking about. So the very broadband services, of course, we are talking about. So by most accounts, the digital divide, of course, that now statistics are changing. Why? Because we have improved, but in spite of that, the gap with China, the gap exists between urban areas and rural areas, between affordable and people who lack affordability. So, and by most accounts, the digital divide across age, gender, geography, and income, we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So that divides across, age, gender, geography, income, age. The grandpa will tell me, come on, I don't know how to operate. Can you please help me? Maybe your grandpa or grandma. Maybe gender, women mostly, because there comes the low status of women, economic independence, lack of economic independence. Otherwise, even if husband has got that iPhone, that wife may not be interested, or wife may not be given that much of the costly phone. The husband with 1 lakh, 1,50,000. I'm talking about people affordable family. The wife with only 20,000, 30,000. See the gap. So the geography, that varies. Remote, inaccessible. That and also the source of income we are talking about. So significantly, what we are talking about, and by most accounts, the digital divide across the age, gender, geography, and income within India is significantly, we are talking about, higher than the China. In spite of that, see the we are talking about. So thanks to its successful, the digital ID program, that India's, that the very digitalization program and linking with Aadhaar, and India scores higher than China in digital adaptation by governments we are talking about. But the need now is to use the platform that Aadhaar provides more widely and effectively. Of course, we started doing, we are talking about, we are benefiting more, cutting across all divisions. And given COVID situation, that we realized that the fantastic thing, we did, to direct benefit transfer through technological support, the e-commerce, because we did. We understood the importance of, the technology. That when we were, especially under the lockdown, you would have realized. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. So not only that, so the very, that Nobel laureate, the economist, you might be aware, the welfare economist, the Amartya Sen has written extensively on the idea of, the capability, that's he was also spoke in favor of the free bees, especially that can be equated with social security schemes of, developed world. It's a capacity building measure, the human capacity that can be built by providing them, that all those freebies, roti, kapda, makan, everything. Later, they will develop self-respect. So that should be a temporary measure. That's what we talk about. So this concept has got large applications in digital world. So the human capability, idea of human capability, we're talking. Of course, it is unstoppable as per Swami Vivekananda. It's unfortunate people here to realize that. So unfortunately, not only does India have higher digital access gap, it also has bigger digital capability gap. See, that's what I used to say. That in your luxury car, you don't even use that 70% of its functionalities. Even in your smartphone, you don't even use your 70% of its functionalities. Are you aware? But we keep status symbol. This is called conspicuous consumption. You are literate, but technologically, you are illiterate. So the inhibition, the very traditional mindset, yet to embrace, the innovation. It's not technologically, technically they may not be friends. It happens in everybody. Technologically friend, otherwise, technically friendship, what we enjoy with all those gadgets, that may go down with increasing age. We are talking about. But there are exceptional cases too, in spite of that. It is that way we are talking about. So, see, it is that way. So, the digital capability gap, the people are custom bound, traditional bound. The need may not be there because necessity is mother of invention, or our urge to learn, that may not be there. Or keep them, updated may not be there. We are talking about. So, this idea of, human capability. So, it's not only talking about digital access gap and also digital capability, ability to use, take advantage. It is that way. So the capability gap, according to World Development Report, arises from the two main sources: the overall business climate and the quality of human capital. So the quality of human capital, if they are poor, illiterate, it will get reflected here also in terms of technological access. So rich gets richer, poor gets poor. And overall business climate we are talking about. So whether it is rural area, urban area, or affordable, or lack of affordability, or the governments, the penetration there, or technological penetration there, internet access there. So this capability gap, this is as per the Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate, the welfare economist. You might be aware. We're talking about, So that despite some commendable improvements in cutting bureaucratic costs, that of course faced by small and medium enterprises, the automation, the technological support, India scores considerably below China in doing business indicators. In spite of that, there is a gap with China we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so it is important for India to create a space for creativity and enterprise. Otherwise, it's almost, contextualizing why digital India. And what is the way forward? And having implemented, that why the digital dividend is not possible. It's not one, it's not only, the digital access we are talking about. What about, the capability gap on the part of human beings, the citizens? And this is apart from the gap between rich and poor, or rural and urban areas we are talking about. So it is important for India to create a space for creativity and enterprise and to promote competition. We're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, that Startup India, the Stand Up India, Make in India campaign. We are talking about so many ways. So the slow pace of, improvement of the quality of basic infrastructure, for example, expressways, logistics, storage, and postal delivery system, and reliable supply of, electricity. Sometimes, power shutdown, that of course, alternative energy resources, renewable energy resources, that too, solar energy, which is the fastest, the growing sector. As I told you, right, in the previous session, 13 times of, growth in the last 6 months, the solar energy we are talking about, we are blessed with, the 750 gigawatts potential in India as a Surya Putra, as a tropical nation. You might be aware. We are yet to tap. Of course, given COVID situation slowed down our target, 100 gigawatts out of 175 gigawatts of renewable energy resources. We spoke at length. India is it facing. This is apart from hydroelectric projects and other gas turbines, everything we are talking about. So energy security, it has to be matched with that. So have also hampered the growth of e-commerce in India. That so the basic infrastructure development, infrastructural bottlenecks. So that's why FDI, FII recently what happened, the self-reliance, that reliant economy, Atmanirbhar Bharat we are talking about. That self-reliance, that in economy is possible only with, self-reliance in energy sector and self-reliance in technology. We're talking about. So for that, that we have got infrastructure bottlenecks. That's why, that attracting foreign direct investment, venture capitalism, even the recent budget, we sold out public sectors, you might be aware, 1.75 lakh crores we mobilized to finance that reliant economy or Atmanirbhar Bharat. Because, we can't tax people, many a times, that. So that's very difficult. Murai செய்து வரி காப்பாற்றும் மன்னவன். We have to be like that. It is that way. It's not taxing people. So, of course, government took this path, that of course it's traveling from socialistic pattern. It's a paradigm shift from socialistic pattern of economy to capitalistic mode of production. We are heading towards, more lazy sphere. Of course, it's criticized like, corporate driven politics. That's a different scenario. So, all these infrastructural bottlenecks should be addressed. For that, we need, but it's not keep on getting loan from international institutions. They comes ultimately with strings attached, and which has got its own impact on our own domestic industries, you might be aware. So we are talking about, what's happening, the growth of e-commerce in India. So this basic infrastructural bottleneck. So express highways, logistics, storage, postal. Of course, it's not possible by the government alone. Where we talk about public sector disinvestment, where we talk about, public-private partnership. Of course, that. So the tolls, everything, the collection, the people. You want to enjoy the great, the quality roads, but you are not ready to pay toll. And you will be fighting. What is the use, that? It is that way, everything, nothing comes free, right? So, the mentality, of course, what I'm saying, the government should not make people complacent also by giving much free. It should be a temporary measure, not permanent measure. So, that it's better to share, that the technology of fishing than mere sharing the fish. That gives, quick fix solution. For permanent solution, make him, train him in terms of, that fishing, how to fish. Probably that gives lifelong support. We're talking about that. But it's that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the people's mentality should be, transformed. Of course. So and the excessively cautious approach of Indian regulators we are talking about towards disruptive technological innovations such as mobile money or ride sharing. The Ola, Uber, and has made it difficult. That you as a single person sitting on a big car, if you can go for carpooling, you can reduce. You can use metro. But at the same time, all metro centers, I'm saying, that parallel you make, the car parking arrangements possible. So these guys will take car park there, and they will be very happy to use metro services for less cost. Public transportation system. Of course, that in the road transport, I don't know, heavy corruption in every state government we are talking about. This is apart from adding more carbon in the atmosphere. You can use metro. That will be fantastic. For that, energy security, of course, renewable energy resources, that to tapping of solar and wind, that should be more, so that you reduce your dependency on fossil fuel. So several, all are connected we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So the disruptive technological innovations such as mobile money, ride sharing services has made it difficult for digital startups to enter into that new markets and achieve scale we are talking about. It is that way we are talking about, excessively cautious approach of Indian regulators towards disruptive, towards embracing innovation or new technology. That so whenever they enter into new markets or that to achieve the scale we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So why Indian technology works and entrepreneurs excel in Silicon Valley, the United States. Of course, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, hey guys. So while Indian technology workers and entrepreneurs excel in Silicon, even Sam Pitroda and several, that Indian scientists there, with patents, several patents, you might be aware. Entrepreneurs excel in Silicon. Even now, Sridhar Vembu, that he came back and he did fantastic. Now he's working and he's Zoho. He's doing fantastic job. So why he was awarded Padma Shri also recently. That's a good thing. So Silicon Valley in the United States. So the skills level of the average Indian worker remains significantly behind Chinese counterpart. That's what we are talking about. Huh? Why our cottage-based industries should not be in such a way that that the rural people are working on smartphones, some ICs, integrated security, electronic gadgets. Why not? Why they can't be trained? All each no job is less. I understand. Nobody is less. No job is less. Why? The more productive, more qualitative, more profitable. So that takes the position to the next level instead of living on subsistence economy. Why can't be done? So India has made considerable strides in improving its human capital, but vast majority of its population still lacks the skills to meaningfully participate in a digital economy. That's why Skills India, well. So for every statement, you've got solution. We are doing it already, but it's almost like why all this? The contextualizing, addressing the gap, addressing the grievances we are talking about. So around 25% of Indian adult population cannot read and write compared to fewer than 5% in China. See, even in literacy. So all this, it is superficial level what we are talking about problem, but at the superfluous level, unless until we address the basic, the problems affecting the Indian society, whether it is poverty, the hunger, the illiteracy, or corruption, or gender injustice, or transgender injustice, or problems of downtrodden minority, untouchability, the casteism, the communalism, or religious fundamentalism, or forced religious conversion, or majoritarianism, or centrifugal tendencies like Naxalism or northeastern insurgency, something related to internal security related issues, or malnourishment and sexual issue imbalance, or female infanticide, or maternal mortality rate, unless until all these basic issues they should be addressed first. Otherwise, that it's projected version you will find, and that with the support of information communication technology, that it's you come to know more about it. It looks very uglier then. So it's the right time. We have to focus more. You want to take advantage of very digital dividend, ladies and gentlemen. So around 25% of India's adult population. It talks about literacy gap between India and China. Yes, let me take you to the next level. Yes. So that it is almost, we are talking about it is on the basis of annual status of education report we are talking about. The very annual status of education report that says the ability to solve the division, the problems, the mathematics between 14 to 16 years old kids. So they took into account that the very survey, that the children in the age group between 3 to 16, the 5,46,527 kids part of the survey. So the very survey says the ability to solve the division mathematics problems, that 44% girls doing, 50% boys doing, we're talking about. But when it comes to that standard 3, the kids who could read at that at the standard 2 level, third standard by reading the stuff of the second standard, that stuff we are talking about. In 2013 only the 21.6%. In 2018 it improved. So we are talking about it's coming up, the learning curve, that it's picking up. And also between that 11 to 14 age group, so it is 14 to 16, 11 to 14 age groups, that who have not enrolled in school, that the percentage is that 2018 4.1%. It has come down from what, 10.3% in 2006 we are talking about. So the major difference in quality of education between private education as well as government school education. Government schools education, of course, why? The infrastructural bottlenecks and lack of pedagogy, the methods of teaching, and technological leverage we are talking about, and also the dedicated teachers you don't find. That's what I used to say. If a rich teacher teaching a poor boy, it's a government, it's a private, it's a government school. But whereas the poor teacher teaching that rich kid, it's a private school. It's a private school. That is the scenario you talk about. That of course new education policy addressing the teacher student ratio, of course the Gurukulam style. Of course, that how come the size of the students in a particular class should come down. It should be Gurukulam education we are talking about. It should be holistic also. Several measures we are talking about, that we are addressing through new education policy, the liberal education as well as quality education, as well as emphasizing that skill based learning than mere that எட்டு சொரக்கா கறிக்கு உதவாத than mere on paper. We are talking everything, and also emphasizing trilingual formula we are talking about. Even that the Shanti Niketan, the Vishwa Bharati University, it became the Rabindranath Tagore who emphasized that mother tongue based education. Even yesterday, the World Mother Tongue Day we celebrated, you might be aware. The important role, even Prime Minister Modi ji, his pet project, you might be aware, talking about. And the very that there should be that university in every district that teaches mother tongue based that the very education. He spoke in favor of it, you might be able. So learning levels, 5-year-old education, because that when you teach in a particular language which can be understood by a person on the other side, you're putting your idea in his head. But when you teach in a particular language of that particular person on the other side, you put your idea in his heart. That's the difference. Putting the idea in head and putting the idea directly in the heart. Heart touching. It is that way we talk about. So learning skills, what we are discussing, ladies and gentlemen. So this is annual status of education report, the survey based on that we are talking about. Not only that, the gap between the government schools as well as the private schools. Cognitive skills, sorting, pattern recognition. The government school people, of course, that 77% around, but private kids 87%. So the 5-year-old children in private schools fared better in the learning tasks than those in government school and Anganwadi. Why? The care, infrastructure, the pedagogy, the dedicated teacher. Several factors we are talking about. And also the parents parallelly affordable, that goes with affordability, accessibility we are talking about. So this is what the gap that that you witness in terms of basic language skills and basic math skills. We talk about that it is that way. So the private schools faring well. We are talking about commercialization, privatization of education institution. Then what about addressing the bottlenecks on the part of government schools? The teacher student ratio, the pedagogy, the dedicated teacher, and hire and fire. Why the teacher should not be training the trainer, not simply giving salary. If they are not up to that level, they should be thrown away. It's not getting affiliation to any political party or recommendation. Throw them away. Let them take moral responsibility, because you are spoiling the future of the nation is shaped in classroom. How come you can compromise? It is that way. That if you want to earn money, you got so many jobs. Why do you spoil the teaching? It's a noble profession. Ezhutharivittavan iraivan. So the government should be that come down heavily, perform or perish, hire and fire. Come on, no compromise when it comes to education, because that's when something gone wrong there. Where you spoil everything. Of course, it's because of lack of attention over government school, the private schools. Of course, private schools, there comes competition. They collect money. The affordability, ultimately, the people also prefer there. So see that all round it becomes. Where comes, there comes government role to attack this, arrest this. It is that way we are talking about. It is that way. So what is that? So the scores in rural India show that 10% of children aged, that 16 and below cannot identify single digit numbers consist. Oh my God, it is, that there is a gap between rural and urban area also in terms of, the ability on the part of the students we are talking about, skill exposure, skills. That goes with the nature of parents, affordability, the infrastructure of the education institutions, they study. Even, the people from a few rural areas, the schooling, they got educated when they come to city for their own professional courses, whether it is medicine or engineering, and they will meet, that their own, friends from, the urban centers, counterpart from urban centers, cities. So the skill sets will be definitely different. The leadership quality, communication skill, the attitude, the emotional intelligence, the network or approach with the teachers, all round, even extracurricular activities, participation, I witnessed when I came from, but I enabled myself. I could enable myself. But of course, how many people you can expect, immediately to catch up. That comes we are talking about. It is that way. So fewer than 1 in 5 can do a subtraction, performing considerably below their grade level. It is the gap between that we are talking about private and the government, rural and urban. Clearly, India's challenge, the challenge to become, to becoming not, to become a digital economy remains, the tough. That's why. So unless until we address this gap between rich and poor, rural and urban, they're talking about it. It's not only that the digital access and as well as the capability gap, and also the gap between it is that way we are talking about. This is ultimately giving us context. We are talking about, of course, the government understood all those gaps, the context. That is why the government announced, the slew of new initiatives. In the education sector, around 29 initiatives, the Digital India program we are talking about, of course, the Digital India, Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, even the program called JAM put together, Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, Aadhaar, the mobile, access to mobile phone as well as internet, and also, that preserving, the documents, that the digital lockers, a national digital library, and several things I'm going to discuss with you. E-Kranti, the e-commerce, e-governance, of course, you talk about Swayam portal, we are talking about several things we're going to discuss. Don't worry. It is that way. So India's digital initiative, Digital India, we are talking about several initiatives we took to address the gap. We are talking about, of course, that. So after the 4th year of the launch of Digital India, so this is a statistics, that especially we are talking about the hospital transaction to the tune of through using this digital technology, the 10 crores plus, and common service centers 3.65 lakh that we are talking about, and also Aadhaar that generated 123 crore we are talking about, and DigiLocker uses 2.39 crores we are talking about. My Government app uses 81.40 lakh, and Jeevan Praman pensioners, of course, using the technology, of course, the beneficiary is 2.59 crore. And total direct, this is, I'm talking about the 4th year, of course, 2 years back, and we are celebrating now 6th year of Digital India launching. Of course, the total direct benefit transfer, that 7.4 lakh crores we are talking about. And digital, that Saksharta Abhiyan enrollment, 2.30. This is, as per the 2 years back statistics, just to have an idea how India, took advantages of, that the digitalization program, how government is very keen in reaching the masses by delivering goods and services with the support of the technology and all-round initiatives. We are talking this way, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath interacting with you. Welcome to Unacademy. I think you get the fantastic that idea about India's digital initiatives. Hitherto we discuss why the context, that why Digital India. Of course, that in what way we met through various initiatives we are talking about, and we are taking you to the next level also parallel. Excuse me, once again, ladies. Successful and accelerated implementation of these programs can make up for some of the lost time. That is what 7 decades, 5 decades we simply wasted. We couldn't address all those persistent issues, but now we can. Technology induced, technology assisted, that solutions we are talking about. Of course, maybe the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, what he spoke, of course, with Dr. that Vikram Sarabhai, even Dr. Kalam reinforcing the very point, that it is self-reliance in technology. That's a panacea. That's going to eradicate all social evils from India. That's what, the remote sensing satellite, communication satellite, that even education sector, the technology, the ICT, the internet and communication technology, everything is feasible now. We are talking about it is because of that. And also, the 5,000 crores, that we earned through Antrix Corporation, that by selling our images in the European market, it's more than that now. And our MOU with NASA, why? It is that way. And also we are capable of that launching that other nations that satellites also through our that rockets that you call PSLV, GSLV, and also cryogenic technology and more payload. All these things achievement, self-reliance in technology became solution, and enriching, the life of every Indian. We are talking about adding value, the new way of life. Otherwise, the primarily it is meant for the Digital India initiatives, realistic. It's because of that we are talking about. So, that's the use of technology to provide solutions. So, successful and accelerated implementation of these programs can make up for some of the lost time. What we couldn't do in the past, it's in the short span of time we are going to do it with the support of technology. See, you won't believe. Let me tell you one example. My mom is no more. So my mom, that Mrs. Gauri Thiruvengitam, and she's a fantastic, that lady. Of course, I've ever found. Even that's why she is respected among my, relative circle, even my friend circle. That's different. And she passed away 1 year back. Some 15 years back, I believe. That when I was in Chennai, I brought my mom from rural area to, that this city. And because of her age, because she was diabetic, that her, that the hearing impaired, that the problem came. Her ability to hear came down. So what happened, right? That all of a sudden, I took her to, that one hearing, that aid center ultimately. So whatever you speak, that she will understand, lip reading she will do. She used to manage. There comes, that some sort of, mentality, mindset on the part of aged people. They won't accept that, they're unable to hear. They won't hide all the, that's, natural. Your grandma, my grandma, your mom, my mom, everybody's same. That it's not finding fault at them. Let them go in their own way. But, I somewhat understood. It becomes very difficult for us to handle her. Whatever you communicate, she hears only 20% and it's not reaching her. So ultimately what happened? I took her to hearing aid center. So that was very quite advanced, that equipment I bought. It's a simple thing. So the moment they kept, I said, Amma, the way with which I could see the face, that her, the grimace, that her, reaction, having put that machine, when I called mummy, Amma, the way which, I could hear, oh my God. Yes. So she was with that particular problem, that hiding that problem with everyone, all of the family members for 20 to 25 years. I provided solution with that technology. I could see her facial change. The persistent decades old problem in India, it became realistic. How? Because of the technology. I could bring smile on the face of my mom. She started enjoying in all, that the TV programs, serials, everything. She was very happy communicating with everyone. So that's the renewed life with the support of, one hearing aid technology. A simple example I'm talking to you. The same way, that the persistent age-old, decade-old problems here in India, the poverty, illiteracy, or whatever may be, the malnourishment, in short span of time, you can eradicate with the support of technology I'm talking about. That's Digital India, digitalization program I'm talking about. That's my personal example to you, ladies and gentlemen. So, but India also needs to do more by strengthening the basic foundations of digital economy I'm talking about. The basic foundations of digital economy. So making the internet accessible, open and safe for all Indians. That's the urgent priority we are talking about. So internet, it should be safe. It should not become a dustbin, that so that, you will be manipulated from someone sitting there like, cyber snooping or WikiLeaks. What happened? The Julian Assange. Of course, that Edward Snowden, entire story, what happened, right? How do you ensure the data privacy on the part of every citizen of this nation? The robust mechanism in place, as by Supreme Court towards the central government, you might be aware. Even the data privacy related, that the very act is also pending in the Lok Sabha, you might be aware. So something happened in the European Union. We are, that emulating the similar line, another law also to protect, that every Indian's, data. So, given Aadhaar, that it should not be, that utilized by all corporates for their own favor. So in what way we create robot system, or anyone violating that, how they can be penalized. So all these things also parallel we are discussing. So making internet accessible, open as well as safe for all Indians is an urgent priority. That's it. Because, internet penetration even today only 50% we are talking about. That varies according to, the age, the gender and income generation and region, that rural urban divide we are talking about, and also the capability gap beyond that. capability gap, as said by Dr. Amartya Sen. So the cost of mobile phone access is already low by international standards we are talking about. Of course, that you might be able. The smartphone just for 10,000 rupees you get smartphone nowadays. You might be aware. So it is that way happening. That nowadays, because those days you have to spend the 1,50,000. Of course, the features accordingly. And with the supportive policy environment, that involving, smart spectrum management, supportive policy environment, that involving smart spectrum management, that, and also, that the public-private partnership, triple P, and the intelligent regulations of internet markets, the same can be achieved for internet access we are talking about. In what way it can be done? It is this way. So zero rated services for mobile data access. Mobile zero rated services have become controversial. We are talking about even the free Wi-Fi we are talking about. Anybody may misuse, that otherwise people can be manipulated, they're taking advantage of their, ignorance. That became controversial. So thou, that we are talking about, though they could be an, that, the immediate, there could be an immediate step to fully open and affordable internet access for the poorest, provided that the choice of selecting services is transparent and inclusive. By giving free Wi-Fi, that you should not force them. You should not influence the consumer behavior, so that that works in favor of the corporates sitting somewhere. So that the algorithm may be favoring only the corporates at the cost of the very poor people in India. So it should not be like that. So there should be the transparency, as well as it should be all inclusive. It should not exclude them. Otherwise, that it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So there, that we are supposed to make everything free from the controversies we are talking about, and beyond that. So access is, however, only one, is only one part of the agenda. That, so number one, affordability. Number two, access. We are talking about only one part of the agenda. So an important lesson from World Development Report is that even the most sophisticated technologies are no substitute for tackling the long-standing, that shortcomings in other areas. This is as per World Development Report. That it is possible, then technology is possible. Now you are saying, that it is not possible. It's not no substitute for tackling long-standing. That the willpower on the part of politicians or bureaucrats, and the willpower on the part of the people to come up. So that matters a lot. So it's not blaming the tools. Finally, they become tools, or useful tools the moment that you are ready to, that you are ready. Otherwise, when the teacher is, when the student is ready, the teacher is ready. When the search in you is already ready, everything favors you. Fortune favors the brave. We talk about it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. And whether it is politicians or bureaucrats or people or organizations. So most importantly, the basic health and education, the social sector we are talking about, and regulatory ethos, that, and that encourages the competition and enterprise. So because of the thing, you got technology. I don't think one day fine morning everything will be all right. So that demands that the collective responsibility. We are all stakeholders for that. The politicians, bureaucrats, we the people, civil society organizations. We should come with that mindset. That urgudi therirukano. It's the purpose is great. There should be collective effort from all stakeholders. It's not simply blaming the government or blaming the bureaucracy or blaming anybody or blaming the technology altogether. So there comes the role of the government in ensuring privacy also. It's not only access to technology. And what about it's not digital access alone. What about digital dividend? Do we encash by taking leverage of this ICT, information communication technology? Is it working, or addressing the gap between rich and poor, addressing the gap between rural and urban areas, and ensuring privacy parallelly? And there comes capability gap on the part of people also. So we talk in several ways. It is that way. So the collective effort, that it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, so the very World Bank adopted in 2013 the shared prosperity we are talking about as one of its missions goal. We are talking about one of its mission goal. So it was the first time that combating inequality was being that set up as a target. The combating the inequality we are talking about. So arresting the widening inequality we are talking about. The fixing that ever-growing inequality. You might be aware. We keep on talking this particular information, ladies and gentlemen. So 10% of the population controlling 90% of the resources. Or remaining 90% of the population, they have to live with the 10% of resources. The widening gap, widening economic inequality or social inequality we are talking about. There comes the role of international organization, national governments, regional governments to arrest this, to establish justice. When there is that injustice, the relationship may not be long lasting. There should be justice. There should be a balance in life. Then only there will be peace. Then only there will be prosperity. Because peace is a prerequisite for the prosperity. Even through Millennium Development Goal, Sustainable Development Goal, through international organization, what we are trying to do. What is the message? What is the concept for which we are all working together? There should be, the just balanced society all around. Whether at the global level, regional level, national level, sub-regional level. Share and care. We are talking about it. It's not, that, so, be part of contribution. It's not part of accumulation. Be part of contribution. It is that. So, shared prosperity. So, growth that should benefit everyone. Otherwise, inclusive governance. Growth should not be exclusive of few countries or exclusive of few sections of population or corporate. So shared prosperity, one of its mission goal, it was the first time, that combating inequality was, that being set up as a target we are talking about. That World Bank adopted 2013 we are talking about. So there was, a lot of initial opposition because while battling of poverty seems to like a fairly impersonal goal, the goal of sharing makes many uncomfortable. It's not only that let's make poverty history. Whenever there is G8 summit, you might be aware, G7+1 summit, in front of that venue, the people from the several countries, underdeveloped countries, developing countries, they will come and the protest in front of that. Let's make poverty history. How? By contributing that 1% of the GDP of developed nation, industrially rich nations, it's possible. With more power comes more responsibility. Same thing we speak, in the environmental angle. We are talking about the Kyoto Protocol, the Clean Green Fund we are talking about, the $100 billion fund we are, even Paris Climatic Agreement, the pledge towards this finance. And also giving more space to, the developing, underdeveloped world, and also the technology sharing. I see the reflection of all these things there. The environment, it is that way. Yes. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I'm taking coffee without you. I'm sorry. You can also parallelly refresh yourself. 1 second. So this initiative, of course, shared prosperity as a target. So now you see everywhere, reducing poverty or mitigating the greenhouse gases, Kyoto Protocol, Paris Climatic Agreement, everywhere. Even ultimately, we are talking about the subsidy talks. Also, this came into existence. Of course, the World Trade Organization, that's different scenario. Even international organizations should be restructured in such a way so as to reflect the ground reality. That way. So fortunately, the way of shared prosperity goal is formalized, has deep conceptual roots. There it is based on justice, balance in life. That's what Martin Luther King said once. As I said earlier, when there is no justice in the relationship may not be long lasting. Truth alone triumphs. It is that way we talk about, that. So it is that way. So one of the best accounts is to be found. That one article about inclusive development that came, that in Economic and Political Weekly, also reinforcing this particular point. This Basu, of course, that Kaushik Basu, the former, the chief economic advisor to the Prime Minister of India, part of World Bank, mentioning all these articles also, that supports us. This goal is now increasingly being recognized as vital for a better world. That's what I see. We said the Kyoto Protocol, the Clean Development Fund, that otherwise Paris Climatic Agreement, the financial commitments we are talking about. Yes, it is that way. We see everywhere. So development should be inclusive, not exclusive. We are talking about. So the aim of ending digital divide discussed in our most recent World Development Report stems from this basic idea, that is an urgent need at times. What is the urgent need? Of course, that the sharing, that sharing our prosperity, share and care. That it should, otherwise, inclusive development, inclusive governance we are talking about. It is that way. Unless until we address all those, the basic persistent social evils, but it can be done through technology in short span of time. The very eradication of poverty or illiteracy, everything. It's not only the gap between rich and poor, gap between rural and urban areas, also talking about the capability gap as said by, that Dr. Amartya Sen. We are talking that way. That's German. It is right time, that let me take you to the next level. So India wrote one of the early success stories of digital revolution when it became global powerhouse for software development and information services, information and communication technology revolution. Thanks to that. But more than we, China took advantage, might be. Why we couldn't? Because that the internet access, that parallel, that the gap, we did not address, but that has got its own roots. We're talking about. So its other digital ID system we are talking about has become a model for many other countries. So helping governments to become more efficient and more inclusive. We are talking about, direct benefit transfer, that delivering goods and services meant for the people in short span of time, without intermediaries, without red tapeism, without corruption, and making the people aware parallelly through Right to Information Act. We got variety of things, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about that. Sorry, I need this petrol. Oh my God. You have this bad habit? Hope you're not with this bad habit. Caffeine, huh? Which is equivalent to smoking. Oh my God. So its other digital ID has become model for many other countries, helping governments to become more efficient, more inclusive in expanding services to those who have been left behind. People hitherto left behind, they have been lifted now. Okay, so people below poverty line, now they are above poverty line. Of course, it's happening. This is technology assisted, that solution. So self-reliance in technology, yeah, it's what the Pandit Nehru, thought about it, conceived idea that became realistic now. The Digital India digitalization program. Of course, still we have got challenges. No doubt, we accept it will take, but it can be done in short span. We need not wait for decades. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, whether new initiatives will generate even greater and more widely shared digital dividends. The faster growth, more jobs, and better services depends not only on expanding affordable access to all, but also on making long overdue progress on the analog, that the complements, that of digital investment. We're talking about now, it's not only on digital thing and also analog complement, that so long overdue progress on analog complements of digital investment we are talking about. So, that other infrastructure bottlenecks and other issues should be eradicated in such a way we are talking about. So, the new initiatives, that will generate even greater, more widely shared digital dividends, faster growth, more jobs, better services. That depends not only on expanding affordable access, affordability, accessibility to all, but also making long overdue progress meant for downtrodden, minority, marginalized section, and addressing all those, the poverty, illiteracy, gender justice, and also, that it's not only digital thing, even analogous complements, that they should be up, that done in terms of, automation or digital investments. We are parallelly talking about that, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is right time. Let me take you to the next level. So, that as per Prime Minister, I'm talking about the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, the previous Prime Minister, that who spoke about, the peace is a prerequisite for prosperity. But for the peace, you need, justice. But the current Prime Minister, the efficient Prime Minister, of course, role model for many youths of India, you might be aware, the very hardworking, as per the Prime Minister Modi ji, you might be aware, it's not Harvard. Hard work works. That, so in making, that India is self-reliant, that all round in terms of economy, in terms of energy, we're talking about, that. So the Prime Minister's, the great emphasis on Digital India, digitalization program, that has brought all round, that the changes in the lifestyle of, that every Indian. That's what, that starting from your smartphone, internet access. You're talking about, that it is that way. So ultimately, that your life has been simplified, and that too, given COVID, new normal we witness, that how we benefited. You just think about, without smartphone, without, the internet access, without your Netflix, without your Amazon, in the lockdown period, how you would have spent time. Even your TVs failed broadcasting. It is that way. That when you were locked down, of course, that you survived because of that. Government also took a lot of measures through direct benefit transfer, that ensured, that how, the migrant laborers, even the poor people, the delivered goods and services, you might be aware. It is that way. So everything became realistic. It's because of, that the digital India, that we took leverage of, that the very technology we are talking about otherwise. So it's a new way of life. It's a new culture we witness with the support of technology, especially the digital technology, the digital India. Of course, the broadband services, public internet access program, even now PM1 we are talking about, the information RTA, the information for everyone, that became highly realistic because of the support of technology and internet access. Though it is 50%, we have to work more. And early harvest programs and universal access to phones we are talking about, and also employment generation, IT for jobs, and electronic delivery of services, and e-kranti, the electronic delivery of services, e-commerce, e-governance. We are talking about reforming the government, through technology. Yes, it is that way. So electronic manufacturing, that of course the nets, the target net zero import. They want to reduce the dependency on foreign goods. Of course, Atmanirbhar Bharat, the self-reliant economy we are talking about. So the very Prime Minister Modi ji, that in what way, of course, emphasizing this new way of life, every Indian witnessing because of this digital India. Of course, that his address, that in several occasions, even the Bengaluru, the technical, the technological summit 2020 also, reinforced this particular point. As per Prime Minister Modi ji, the Digital India mission, that launched. Now we are celebrating 6th year, of course. It's launched, that 5 years ago, 2015, was not being seen as that any regular government initiative, and had now become a way of life, a culture, a style of life, and especially for the poor and marginalized. Got the idea? No? It's a culture now. It has changed the lifestyle. And those in government, of course, that so poor and marginalized, and those in government, the facility, immediately you WhatsApp, you get the message, you see the mail, ultimately you speak, through video call, immediately, that on the spot. That supports, media, that supports government, that supports transparency in administration, speedy delivery of services we are talking about. So technology first is our governance model. That's what the statement of the Prime Minister Modi ji we are talking about. It's not a regular government initiative like other schemes we had, but it has become way of life, especially for the poor, marginalized, and those in government. So the technology first is the governance model. That's what, if you want to move to the next level, that demands that the technological support, your innovation, your creativity, that demands your next avatar. So what Pandit Nehru conceived self-reliance in technology as a panacea, now Modi ji is doing now. We are talking about it. It takes time. Of course, that done in short span of time, we can do more also. So India is unique, in terms of positioning, that it has been positioned to leap ahead information era, that especially. And we have the best minds as well as the biggest market. See, this is not advantage. That the capability gap Dr. Amartya Sen addressed, but we've got best minds. We are talking about brain drain, and we have to work towards reverse brain drain. The people, who want to be patriotic, they will do. Even the diaspora diplomacy, the very Prime Minister Modi ji, that executing whenever he visits, foreign countries. Of course, it's not only getting remittances and their foreign direct investment, venture capitalism, and also, that and influencing the diaspora to influence the host nation, so that there will be good relationship between the two. So the best minds, the Indian minds in abroad, and back home India. So, as well as the biggest markets we have. That's why all developed countries are eyeing Indian biggest market. So our local technological solutions have the potential to, the go global. We became, even the very, that yesterday, the Mars mission part of, NASA. A girl from, that Tamil Nadu, of course, we are talking about Shweta. Let's appreciate. that she's joining the club of course, that like, the Kalpana Chawla group. That's fantastic. Na? Of course, the Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella. Of course, our local tech solutions have the potential to go global. It's time for, that technological solutions that are designed in India but deployed in the world. How long you're going to import? You can't say you have become great by importing somebody else's money or somebody else, technology. You have to become great by your own inherent talent. Work on it. Everything is here. It's not outside in, it's inside out. Do more. Aladdin's lamp is here. Scratch. அற்புதங்கள் நடக்கும். அதிசயங்கள் நடக்கும். All wonderful things will happen when you scratch this, Aladdin's lamp is here. Come on. So we can do many wonders. It's a time for technological solutions that are designed in India but deployed, for the world. So, he spoke, that at Bangalore Technological Summit, 2020, the Prime Minister Modi ji. Of course, we are talking about not only that, with rapid increase of, the technological use, the data protection as well as cyber security became very important. That's what, the data privacy also we are talking about, how vulnerable we are. The world of big data, even Supreme Court judgment, and during other, well. So the PM Modi's, that call on the youth to play a big role in devising robust cyber security. There are, several good people here. Ethical hacking. It is that way, that. So you work in this way, cyber security solutions that could effectively vaccinate the digital products. We should not become vulnerable when we are growing in technology. In what way we can be protected to make it more safe against, cyber attacks and viruses. So we have to work towards it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way, that when we were preparing, that we heard once, that our UPSC website has been hacked by China. We hear that story. I don't know how it was true and all. Are you aware? Oh my God. So, that, see, so we have to be, that, so we should not be vulnerable. We are talking about. So we are in the middle of information era, and changing, that was disruptive and big. In what way we are ready to face all these, that the disruptive challenges and big challenges and technological challenges and cybercrime challenges. So achievements of the industrial era are in the rear view mirror. It's gone, it's past. And now we are in the middle of information era. Data is a commodity. Information is the key. Right? Here ignorance, that ultimately is a crime we are talking about. So middle of information era, but the future is coming sooner than expected. So earlier we used to say, the 30 years, one generation. Then it became 10 years as one generation. Now we are talking about every 5 years, that one generation is changing. This is how it's very fast. It's because of the technology I'm talking about. Why? Forget that. In mobile phone, all your consumer durables in 1 year, it becomes outdated. Even your car, there comes next variant in the next year. It becomes outdated. So technology is going very fast. It is that way. So it is that way. So future is coming sooner than anticipated. Ladies and gentlemen, how capable we are. There should not be ability or capability gap in accessing them. So it is that way. So the true measure of digitalization would be seamless delivery of all citizens. That should benefit the people. It should not benefit only, the house, the very few people, few corporates are affordable only. It should benefit everyone, all citizens we are talking about. That's happening now. So the affordable smartphones and internet access have made India a digital nation with an estimated 750 million connections and a thriving financial technology sector we are talking about. Talk about, that it is, the financial inclusion became realistic with the support of technology we are talking about. E-commerce realistic because of the technology, and delivery of goods and services, direct benefit transfer, that linking your Aadhaar card with bank account, the subsidy, everything we are talking about. The government reaches the very poor people without intermediaries, without red tapeism, without corruption in the middle we are talking about. So citizens, that got accustomed to the queues at the, the dingy utility offices, even to pay the routine bills. Whether you go to EB office, whether you go to, that, and people go to, PDS, they stand in queue. Because we talk about nowadays, you use the technology, that you see the availability of, the ration shops, what day you have to go. You need not stand in the queue. and that there'll be the delivery can be devised in such a way. One particular that ward people can visit one day, for another ward people another day. And why not door delivery mechanism, as happened during the COVID times, the productivity maximization. Why can't we think that way? Or instead of that's what that even World Trade Organization, there won't be PDF in future also. There comes, we are talking about that question. In that sense, direct subsidy, you have your own choices. It is that way. Why? It is that way we are talking about utility offices even to pay routine bills and find their major leap thanks to the financial technology, fintech or fintech we are talking about. So it is that way the digital India changing the way of life, style of life. So the productivity maximization we are talking about, it's because of that. So the digital platforms, providing goods and services, including online education and telemedicine, they have grown vigorously during COVID pandemic. We took advantages of the very technology during COVID scenario because of the lockdown. All round, that we were restricted. You might be aware. Okay. So while many professionals have maintained the productivity by work from home, of course, what I do now, it is that way. The virtual learning. What do you do now? You're also hearing, that several third wave is coming in Maharashtra. It's not creating panic. You watch TV news and different parts of the world. It is the right time, that we have to be very careful about it. And it is that way, that I can't speak using my mask in front of you all. I'm sitting in my cabin all alone. Don't worry. So the true measure of the digital nations we are talking about, true measure of the digital nations is the readiness of governments to use technology to create open, participatory public systems, and citizens considers trustworthy. Trust is earned. That's very important. So got the point. Now people should believe you. That they should have confidence in government's initiatives. That so, they feel safe and protecting their own privacy parallelly. So the true measure of digital nations is the readiness of the governments to use the technology to create open participatory public system that citizens that they consider trustworthy, so that they take part, they benefit more by participating. That's success ultimately we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way, that how it can be, that so this digital India, that can deliver the goods meant for the citizens we are talking about. We entered into another era, another topic. Of course, what governance must achieve, that is reliable system of digital, that welfare we are talking. It's not digital warfare, digital welfare we are talking about. And the technology assisted, that the welfare, the nation, that implementation we are talking about. So it should be reliable, it should protect the privacy, it should be open, transparent, and also parallel, that ensuring the privacy of every individual when people interact with the government. That's very important. The government should work towards it, that a robust mechanism should be created, as by Supreme Court to a central government. That even the European Union recently spoke about, data privacy we are talking about. It is that way. So because linking of Aadhaar card, linking your financial accounts, that we are talking about. So there comes ultimately a robust mechanism should be in place, ladies and gentlemen. So a beginning has no doubt been made through government to citizen services, that using common service centers, CS we are talking about, advice to agriculturalists, digital payments to welfare benefits, because direct benefit transfer we are talking about, and through bank accounts, and even legal advice online to 4 lakh people under tele law schemes, several things. Of course, that it's a good beginning, fantastic beginning has been made with the government of India, that by taking advantage of the digital tools we are talking about. So that's fantastic. Digital India or digitalization we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And also at the same time, we have to address the gap. That's different scenario, that we have to increase the internet penetration to 100% and addressing the gap between rich and poor, the gap between affordable and people who lack affordability. And even among affordable, we are talking about, as said by, the Dr. Amartya Sen, the capability gap. We talk several things like that. So these represent a welcome advance we are talking about. It is a welcome advance. But if the digital methods were applied to other sectors, It's not only restricted to one particular sector or social sector alone, like the health and education. It should be applied in every sector we are talking about. It's apart from e-commerce, every sector. Say, for example, road safety. So the results could become dramatic. We are talking if you ensure road safety, everything. The people should also participate. When the government is very keen at announcing their fast tag implementation, I see in every toll gate, the people are straight away going there saying that I don't have fast tag. And they are saying, that you have been several times, communicated, announced, that otherwise you end up paying, that double the cost. Now, I won't pay. Our people will be fighting with all those guys there. And ultimately, we guys, standing in the queue, we have to come back and we have to take another thing. We have to be responsible also, parallelly. Because, if you know that you want one government to govern you, and you take up that government for the next 5 years, would you listen to the government? If you're not happy, change them. But at least for 5 years, you have to, listen to, right? You don't want to listen to anybody. My way is highway. What is this? You're putting everybody's, the productive time, that waste. That's what happening in every toll gate. So that, please feel, there comes charity begins at home. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Every toll gate, it's waste of time we are talking about. We have to cooperate. Then only the people's cooperation, that is very, very important. Without the support of people, no, that's what Supreme Court judgment we are talking about. A law without social sanction is ineffective. People should come forward to support. Just participate, implement. Then if it is not working, come on. Nothing is permanent, but there should not be, inhibition. It's not suspicion that demands your, that your readiness to participate, to be part of the challenge. It's not my way, highway. You have to understand. It's a highway for everyone. There comes. So these represent welcome advance, but if the digital methods were applied to other sectors such as road safety, the results could be dramatic. We are talking about potentially reducing the accident mortality rate about 150,000 deaths a year. They're talking about technology assisted. That maybe the more CCTV implementation, even that they're talking about. That maybe drones can be employed for that particular purpose. Of course, that in the ongoing pandemic, of course, speedy ambulance services, that highway, hospitals, that for every 50 kilometers once. Why not? That can be linked with primary health center of that particular region. Why not? It is that way it's possible. So the ongoing pandemic, that Mr. Modi's, forecast, Prime Minister Modi's forecast for enhanced adoption of technology in health and education we are talking about. That so the Modi's forecast for enhanced adoption of technology in health and education will have resonance. Although this way always, that a priority we are talking about, that so it is that way, that desperate times, desperate measures we are talking about. But Prime Minister, that Modi ji was quite optimistic, that so enhanced adoption of technology in health and education, of course, social sector, that although this always, that a priority, social sector is always a priority, health and the education sector. Even in education sector, we benefited more. That's what going to be our focus, at the end, you might be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, so, that the delivery of citizen services by the digital India, the digitalization program of India, of course, that the universal health coverage, that the target by 2022 by previous regimes, of course, even, that a former planning commission, now it has become Niti Ayog. From plan to action, we moved. National Institute for Transforming India, we are talking about Niti Ayog. Of course, that, but it should be backed by finance. That's very important. So that's a cry we are talking about. That's separate. So erstwhile planning commission, that they fixed the target, by 2022 universal health coverage. But it is unfortunate, that so that wasn't captured properly. But the present ruling dispensation, of course, that the Prime Minister Modi ji and his team, of course, that the nucleus plan is this, Ayushman Bharat. Because, the app you would have downloaded during, the COVID era, you might be well, but the digital health identity for all we are talking about. Even if you go to airport, you should have this app, you might be aware. Ayushman Bharat, the very app, that you should have. So it is that way, with the emphasis on digitalization, it should be possible to achieve measurable progress yearly, at least on one of, the very universal health coverage, the component access to free essential prescription drugs we are talking about. Of course, we do telemedicine, that of course everything we are doing. Anyway, fantastic. We are talking about now through Ayushman Bharat, everything is possible, very well, ladies and gentlemen. So, a digital health ID would help prescribe and dispense essential medicines free. We are talking about. The Planning Commission estimated that, it can be implemented, that in 2011 we are talking about, that the past information I'm discussing in place of Planning Commission, now we have Niti Ayog. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a different scenario. We have got, fantastic Ayushman Bharat to address all these needs. Keep with your health, keep with your health and save your wealth. Keep with your health, save your wealth. It is that way. So it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be, that only 0.1 to 0.5% GDP we are talking about this way. So if this is a medium term goal, ladies and gentlemen, if this is going to be the medium term goal, the more immediate task of distributing COVID-19 vaccine also dooms that, the test for the government. Of course, that use of technology, once again, the fast delivery, that how the vaccination program launch happened, it's happening now, and they are working more. It's not only India, we are also supporting other nations parallelly. And given, that the challenges not gone, that even we talk about second wave, third wave, that the government has to, produce more vaccine, and that has to reach the people, that talks about accessibility as well as affordability. And we have to, that make use of technology for that. That's very important, ladies and gentlemen. That comes, the crucial role to be played by the digital India. So at broader level, efficient digital government depends on transforming the internal processes we are talking about, then only, and fixing deadlines for, that the delivery of, the services we are talking about, so it's internal process. It should be matched by internal administration we are talking about. If the digital has to become a way of life, a culture, a style of life, redefining, that the very complicated functioning of our labyrinthine, we say, that the very citizen-centric services, that would be a good place to start. That would be a good place to start, and with deadlines for government we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. Hope you understand once again. Oh, God. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic is big. That of course, that we have to deal finally the very question, the 2020 question, that I have to link with that. I have to present that, focused information parody. It is that way, that let me appreciate your the fantastic patience and participation parallel, and overall the people, some more people have joined here. Yes, that way. Okay. Got it. Yeah, very good morning, everyone. Ram Kumar, Reshma Jeswani, and yeah, that's fantastic. And some more people have joined. What is it? Now, good afternoon, everyone. It's 12 o'clock. No, 11 o'clock only. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Session will be going on up to. Give me one. Yeah, Ram Kumar, Reshma, Shweta Tiwari, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. That's fantastic. You watch, that keen, and you'll be getting more informations. I think, it's going to be, it's not only, centered around 2020 question, and several questions you're going to witness in the future also based on this. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is right time. Let me take you to the next level. Yes. So what about, that? So the question is centered around how this digital India, that solved the education related challenges we're talking about. That of course, the 2020 question centered around that. Definitely during COVID crisis, the 19 crisis and lockdown, we took, that several steps, that of course, that we benefited more, and even now, that this is in continuation, the very online education, that you undergo now. So the India report, the digital education we are talking about, the very Ministry of Human Resource and Development, that are responsible for this, that, and remote learning initiatives across, even the very report speaks that way. Not only that, as I told you, right, almost 29 initiatives, that when it comes to education sector, that are linked with, the Digital India program, that the very education sector benefited out of that digitalization. And before going there, let's speak more. So, Digital India initiative can solve, that education related challenges. Yes, Digital India vision of the government of India seems to be an instrument in solving the situation in the present scenario, that every sector caught in a crisis because of the lockdown associated with the COVID-19, you might be aware. So all business activities have been put to halt. You witness. Huh? You have everything. You got luxury cars, you got, cash, you got everything, but you can't go out. You can't spend. The social distancing. You've been asked to stay at home. The only thing, you lived with your smartphone, laptop, internet connection, huh? your TV news. That's what you did, na? People say eat, pray, love. This is eat, pray, sleep, watch, eat, pray, sleep, watch. That routine we went on for a few months, na? And also, that the fear about corona, that's different story also, and we lost our the near and dear ones, because of that. It's a problem of everyone, that we are talking about. It's a global menace also. So everyone is talking about economy and GDP. It has badly affected, that even education sector. It's not only affected economy or GDP, that the loss of lives and livelihood we are talking about, that it badly affected education sector also. The school education, the college education, everything, that the very, that e-learning, that in what way, that help them to come out of the crisis, you might be able. So let's get into, that the very human development index, that released by United Nations, that development, the program, that the very human development report of 2020 speaks, of course, that the very rank. What is this? It's not mere focusing on economic development. There should be concomitant focus on other non-economic factors. There should be a shift from mere economic factors to non-economic factors. So access to, that education, hospital, several things. Even the multidimensional poverty index released by Oxford speaks that way. So this is, of course, that the Pakistani economist Muhammad Ul Haq, even Dr. Amartya Sen assisted this, you might be aware. So it's a shift in focus from mere economy to non-economic factors when we talk about development indices, where India was given 131st rank out of, it's a drop from 130 to 131st. We were 110, 29 and all in the past. Out of 189 countries, based on several parameters taken into account. The very report released by, that UNDP, we are talking about Human Development Index, ladies and gentlemen. So the school education, that enrollment ratio. Here we are talking about as per UNESCO. Of course, that you come to know other statistics also. But the school education general enrollment ratio in India is approximately 74% for higher education. It is, that we are talking about. And for higher education, it is, of course, you talk about, that only 26.5%. See, the enrollment with basic graduation, people enter into service. They want to earn. So, that too, when you go to research level, it's gone. So, the number of PhDs, what we produce, very less. And also, even the very PhD we produce is not, based on quality. Hello. That's why, that I was thinking about, Dr. Sampath, I threw away. Because I see a lot of doctors, not even worth, people buy PhD with 1 lakh rupees. I don't want ABCDs. We are all leaders without titles. Of course. Oh my God. Having, interacted with several engineering colleges, I've seen several PhDs. Oh my God. That it talks about quantity, and also the appointment of vice chancellors for 6 crores. Oh, governor. Oh, central government. What you guys are doing here? So it is that way we are talking about, So the school education, of course, general enrollment ratio, generally 74%, but higher education, it is 26%. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, there has been more pressure we are talking about. More pressure. So many education institutes are shutting down. And this is putting a lot of stress on students. That of course, that it's students, parents, that how to manage them. They're always, online education. You don't want them to use mobile phone because they will, they will become bad. But what is the thing now? And they are simply on mobile phone. The parents, that are developing stress, their access to all variety of games. They're simply, so they're afraid of, that seeing them as couch potato. You know what's happening. And also, that forcing them to you go out and play somewhere, and afraid of, again, social distance, corona. So they are waiting for, the schools to take them immediately. But fear of corona we are talking about. So many education institutions are shut down, and this putting a lot of stress on students, youths, for their education, admissions to career making courses, skill enhancement, and employment opportunities. Everything, all round problems we witnessed because of the COVID related lockdown, ladies and gentlemen. So as per UNESCO, so that United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, that on date, as on date, 157 crore students across the globe are facing do or die situation in terms of their education delay. You just think about, we are going to declare it's a corona batch. Hey, are you corona batch? Because some school students straight away, they are skipping, that the public exam, well. But the 10th standard, that 12th standard, they're very keen, examinations conducted, all the stories we are talking about. Do or die situation in terms of either education delayed or denied, resulting into disruption in education. And think about, a final year, the medicine guy, a final year, that engineering guy who was on project, it's getting delayed. It's that way. But there comes, question between you, degree versus life. That's totally different argument. Because of the country wise, the closures and no action in 188 countries we are talking about. Oh my God. So the pandemic COVID-19 has made all of us the last 3 months, to plan, organize our education system we are talking about. So first of all, we should be alive, and number two, healthy, ensure that our family members are healthy. Then we have to think about career, and that without wasting of time, that the productivity maximization, either work from home, or that online education. We are talking about that way. So education is bound to change. That now our policy makers, the accreditation bodies, we are talking about, NAC and everybody, the citizens and youth have to work in tandem with open mind. You don't need nowadays big infrastructure, that that the provide service to educate, the students, that what you need, one simple laptop, one internet connection, over. Other, and also, that the students are supposed to have one smartphone, or at least laptop. It is that way, so that it is simplifying. The technology has simply simplified, and also you can personalize your education. So many things we are going to talk about it. So education is bound to change. It's a new normal. At least if not 100% online, it's going to be that hybrid. That's what we are talking about. That through Google Meet, Zoom, that app, and the online portal. Of course, we are talking about YouTube channel. So now our policymakers, accreditation bodies, citizens, and youth, they have to work in tandem with open mind. Although few of the actions which pandemic, that has taught us or teaching us, were planned or thought while planning, the new education policy last year, and while framing Digital India policy framework in 2014. That, so what, that everything we conceived during those, the policy framing, now we started practicing also, ladies and gentlemen. So given the time on hand, it's a great opportunity for students and youth to finally get things off, that their perennial to-do list. Because you are inbound, homebound, a chance of getting more efficient and productive, and develop a new and improve on professional skills, knowledge by learning online as well as assessing online. That, so it's not a problem. It is how do we respond to the problem. You should not react to the problem. The problems are really wonderful opportunities for us to identify solutions. So an optimist will see, the solution in every problem. A pessimist will see problem in every solution we see. So this COVID situation has unleashed a lot of opportunities for us. That to take advantage of variety of digital tools. Either you could have been tradition bound, that maybe the capability gap when it comes to that accessing the technology. Now you are ready to, because necessity is mother of invention we are talking about. You are forced to explore. Whether you are student, whether you are teacher, whether you are professional, whether you are housewife, whether you are kid, the KG kindergarten kids are using mobile phone. The parents assisted. That comes, the role of parents up to third standard. They have to sit with them. You say kids, don't touch mobile. Now they are simply sitting with mobile because they have to online classes, everything. And lockdown has accelerated, that the very adoption of, that digital technology we are talking about has accelerated the adoption we are talking about because necessity that forced you, that no other go we are talking about. So the business houses, the education institutes, educationists, analytics, the computer power, data management methods, online education solution, etc., are forced to work in tandem. We are talking about forced to work in tandem and to improve upon in quality and delivery time so as to handle such situations we are talking about. So, that everything, that all people, that ultimately they took advantage, and the outbreak has presented a new roadblocks for the Indian workforce, and especially for, the daily wage and contractual workers we are talking about. A new roadblocks, for the Indian workforce, because how the migrant laborers, you might be aware, that so they were forced to stay. Of course, that it's fortunately Mandrega supported them very well, you might be aware. So we are talking about several measures for them parallelly also. It is that way, that ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, and think about their own kids' education parallelly. They migrated with family, from Bihar. They would have come to, the Tamil Nadu, Tirupur to work in that, the garment industry somewhere. Think about the plight of those, and construction industries in Tamil Nadu. So the migrant laborers, their kids, their education, online education, everything, use of the technology we are talking about. So in these bleak times, it is important that even before, to be upskilled and to be prepared to prove yourself again. As the saying goes, that when going gets tough, tough gets going. It's not, that escaping from the scene. It is facing the challenges. For that, you have to equip yourself, update yourself. We are talking about. So it is also a fact the technology used for education is now resulting into different concept in education system. The use of technology, that is from teacher-centric education to student-centric education. That the pedagogy changes completely. Even the, I think, that there is one more method. It's not, that learning everything out of the classroom and doing homework. No, that you do homework in the presence of the teacher. All your doubts, queries can be addressed by him directly. Otherwise, you are learning that you can carry out, without the support of the teacher, and what all the things, maybe he guides you, that all, or she guides you. So the teacher-centric education to student-centric education. That you got, WhatsApp University, people call the Google, the technological tools assisting you. Of course, there is another criticism for Google. Of course, the international dustbin, it's the open source. The people add, the authenticity becomes a question mark. When you go through all those information, whether it is reliable, so the moderation, of course, that otherwise you talk about the objectivity we are talking about. It's not simply carrying forward. So there you have to adopt, that so indulgent the fake news we are talking about, and also that while carrying forward to someone or some other platforms, you have to follow that the principles. That is it right? Is it important? Is it urgent? The triplets we are talking about. So all those things, you have to be very careful about it. So that's different scenario. So teacher-centric education too. You don't need teacher to guide you, because you get everything. You got Quora.com, difference.com, the Google.com, the Wikipedia.com, of course, the YouTube channels, for everything. That a click away distance, the technology has, given, that some sort of independence, technological independence, with which, that you get freedom all around. We are talking about, it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the blackboard education system to get replaced with online education system, and giving more flexibility to teachers as well as students. That you fix, maybe the video recorded can be uploaded, in your convenient time you can watch. That's what online education we are talking about. So if not live, we are talking about that way. Whenever your time permits, you can watch, and also you can consult several videos of the same topics. What do you need? One smartphone or laptop, that one internet connection. That's all. Karlo Dunia Mutti Main. You call, na? So the whole world in your palm now. It is that. So as the lectures, can be recorded and used, that at later time. So this will allow teachers, that to work from home, and even will allow us to, get the best teachers for all we are talking about. You got variety of choices also. over a similar topic, variety of videos. You can, you would have explored TED videos in the past, no doubt at all. But now, that this situation prompted, several quality content, that on platform, that YouTube and everywhere we are talking about. So the boundaries of classroom will go beyond expectation, and even the quality education will be available to all, that goes beyond your expectation. You get that various types of videos from various experts, and even this will allow professionals also to share their experience. What I'm doing now in front of you, I share my experience with you while on the job, with real life experiences and practical. And you may be someone, that is sitting from some Rajasthan, Gujarat, some Uttar Pradesh, somewhere Delhi, or, the South Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, wherever it may be. But you come to know who I am. I come to know about you. You share. You share your experience. It's not only sharing the subject. It's more than that. But it's that way, that I take intrude in you. I want to reach your heart. Not mere head that you can do. So, but then definitely, so accreditation bodies, that the policy makers need to change, that revise the accreditation criteria. It's not based on infrastructure, building. What is the use of building? There is no technology. There is no dedicated teachers. That is what I see. நெஞ்சில மாஞ்சா இருக்கிற ராஜாவுக்கு கோட்டையே தேவையில்லை. He will create, the force. A guy with, the courage and, the dedication stuff, he will create the whole empire. A guy without all those things, what is the use of the whole infrastructure I'm talking about? So, the self-confidence, the courage, as well as, that hard work or smart work or effect, the persistent work I'm talking about, and also, that ever-learning syndrome, the updation of knowledge I'm talking about, and some skill sets, of course, that the team spirit, everything, to, the skill to manage, other people like that I'm talking about. So you don't need infrastructure for that. A new normal, given COVID situation, what we are witnessing today, ladies and gentlemen, and you can embrace the whole world. It's not restricting yourself to one particular locality or center I'm talking about. You unleash your potential. You reach the globe, the global aspirants, global students. That way, that's happening now. So that what happened, right? The rating agency, they have to change their parameters. It's not, that do you have lab? Do you have that building? Do you have this building? No, nothing doing. You learn from your home, and teachers are teaching from their own respective homes. But it's that way I'm talking about. If not, at least hybrid model. So they have to change, revise their parameters when it comes to accreditation criteria for student to teacher ratio. And that's what new economic policy, not economic, new education policy talking about. Even the Gurukul education. In a class, that 100 students, 500 students sitting. The teacher is not even, that can see a glimpse of his face. Commercialization gone to that level. So, the teacher-student ratio, if at least, the 25 candidates, okay, good, fantastic. You can see, the gesture, grimace, and you can. But, that's all those, the issues. The teacher-student ratio, the individual attention, everything, all those issues that you can solve with the support of this online education we are talking about. So, that all parameters should be revised by those agencies when it comes to the teacher-student ratio, the classroom size, the infrastructure and qualification of professor. More than qualification, dedication. More than qualification, the communication skill we are talking about. The skill sets, updation of knowledge. So it's not, that stereotype in information. It is that way, that you'll be thrown away then. It is that way we are talking about. So, that ultimately it is that way we see. What is the point? And this demand of time, geographical limits of, the campus of school, college, university, all these things will go away. And moreover, otherwise you get more time. Because, given COVID situation, that ultimately, that your productivity moves to the next level. You can learn new skill set, and you can train yourself in some other ways, and you can join a game, develop, it is that way. So many things. You can take care of your health. You can spend your quality time with your family members. It is that way. So we have been talking about the virtual classroom, but in fact, the engagement between the teacher and student is real. We are talking about it. It's real, engagement. We come to know. So this is making student connection throughout the life 24/7 basis. Maybe keeping all physically the distance, that is social distancing to fight with COVID. So, that the physical distance, but, that emotionally we are connected, that otherwise, in terms of, that knowledge we are connected, we are talking that way, ladies and gentlemen. Right, let me take you to the next level. So the pedagogy, the teaching methods we are talking about, the pedagogy of education, in the digital education especially, is an important link between the course content, educationist, technology, course taker, or consumer, the other in maybe students, the aspirants. So the conventional classroom centric, the education is different from technology based education. You have to understand. Got the idea now? Here, content speak. How do you engage, the aspirants? Is your content is engaging them? Are you appealing in terms of your communication skill? Are you taking inroad into the mindset of the aspirant, so that the very purpose for which that you get connected, and also the direction. So the democratization of the technology, democratization of information with the use of technology is now an important issue. The presence in which which include internet connectivity, telecom infrastructure, of course, that your Wi-Fi, all those stuff we are talking about, and affordability of online system, and availability of that laptop or desktop, even that your smartphone, and the software, the employment we are talking about, and education tools, and also online assessment tools for evaluation purpose. So this is democratization of information with the support of technology, or democratization of technology we are talking about. That's going to benefit everyone. That all parties involved here we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so but and it is a fact that technology based education is more transparent and doesn't make difference in that in front of or front bencher, back bencher, or girls or boys, or that caste or this caste, or affordable or unaffordable, nothing doing, or nepotism, favoritism, everything gone. So that maybe the social justice is now established by technology. In front of technology, everybody is one and the same. In front of COVID, everybody is one and the same. So technology-based education is more transparent, as well as that establishing balance and justice, without discrimination we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So they're looking into this challenge of colleges or schools shut down. The government of India, as well as state governments, especially even the private players, they have been publishing regularly in the last few months on various initiatives taken by the ministries, like the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Department of Technical Education, DOT you are talking about, and NCRT, state governments, on various initiatives and supports by all stakeholders for the benefit of youth and students. We are talking about several initiatives, that by reaping the benefits of technology. And you wouldn't even believe, that so almost the 29 initiatives when it comes to education we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and it is that way. So, that say, for example, that let me speak about, that few, that initiatives like, the Swayam, it is an online course for teachers, training the trainers you're talking about. And also, that you talk about, that UG, PG, that MOOCs you call, the massive open online courses for non-technology courses we are talking about. It is the initiative, all the Ministry of Human Resource Development initiative we are talking about. So lifelong learning we are talking about, otherwise non-technology courses. And also you talk about the PG Padasala, that Padasala in Tamil we say, it's Pathshala we are talking about. So e-content containing modules on social science, arts, fine arts, natural and mathematical sciences. You hear, of course, e-Pathshala we are talking about. So it is also a national mission on education through information and communication technology. This is initiative, of course, MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource and Development we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And also, that you talk about, that UGC, that YouTube channel especially, so that you come to know the classes. And also, that Vidwan, it's a scheme, separate scheme you're talking about, a database of, experts who provide information about experts to peers and prospective collaborators. We're talking about Vidwan, expert, Vidwan, specialist, expert you call. It is that way. And also, that it's not NEET, we are talking about. NEET, we're talking about. It is the latest education technology products for personalized learning experience we are talking about, and part of MHRD. An initiative by AICT, All India Council of Technical Education, based on public-private, that a partnership model. To what? to enhance the employability skills. Skills India, we are talking about, that employability is the issue, not employment. It is that way, that are you, that's what, even as per observation of NASCOM, the graduates coming out of education institutions cannot be immediately employed because they lack the skills needed by the industries. So they should be trained. The finishing school program we are talking about, the corporate training, you would have heard about it. The employability skills among students by collaborative approach, with education technology companies we are talking about. So NEAT, given COVID situation, and also that National Digital Library, where repository of learning resources with a single window facility is available. We are talking about National Digital Library. So I'm telling only few initiatives, but I said 29 initiatives like this, part of this education sector I'm talking about. That you will be tired by then, that this is my humble attempt, to present, the foundation to you. And also, this is the Honorable Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal we are talking about. So more details can be seen on the Ministry of Human Resource Development, the AICTE, All India Council of Technical Education, and the NCERT websites. You can, the portals with which you come to know the several initiatives taken by the government of India, and part of, the digitalization measures. And many more noteworthy initiatives we are talking about having been taken, like, the spoken tutorial, and also the FASI. What is that FASI? Free and open source software for education. We are talking about an e-Yantra and Google Classroom, several measures like this we are talking about. So it's a fact that Government of India as well as state governments through their various ministries, departments have involved and planned for IT infrastructure. Also, the second most important pillar of the e-education, IT infrastructure. That is in German. That's very important. We are talking about. So it's realistic only with the support of IT infrastructure we are talking about. So this is ICT in general. You call this is apart from the smartphone or laptop plus internet connection, and also the pedagogy. And we are talking about IT infrastructure also parallelly, and also the evaluation pattern for that. You need tools also part of this IT infrastructure. That is a German. 1 second. So this education related challenges what we are discussing now to include National Knowledge Network (NKN), National Project on Technology Enhanced Learning. You talk about NPTEL. We are talking about a National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology (NMEICT). We are talking about Akash Tablet PC, a National Academic Depository. We are talking about several initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, that I restrict myself, when it comes to because. But looking to the facts that India has internet penetration app you're talking about, app based, 31% as on date. Currently, we have, the 29 crore smartphone users, but internet penetration to the tune of 50%. That's different, that you might be aware. That's statistics. And whereas this 29 crore smartphone users we are talking about, but rural households, with computers are, that 4.4% we are talking about. Just see the gap between rural region and urban region. And also urban households with the computers, 23.4% we are talking about. So affordability, accessibility, as said by Dr. Amartya Sen, even the capacity gap we are talking about. So the fact that only 17.6% of the youth could use computer, here we talk about, the capacity gap, and 18.4%, could access the internet. So, technological friendly not happening here. We are talking about otherwise, the necessity is mother of invention. That the people are yet to come out of the conventional mode or traditional mode of profession or learning. So there is a lot to be done in IT infrastructure within the country. That we are talking about so as to make it realistic. Ladies and gentlemen, that's very important. So then only it is possible, and also the online assessment. That agencies, the private business houses also improving the product considering the limited bandwidth and social the distancing by managing that remotely proctored examinations, the skilling assessment. It's not free from limitations we are talking about given COVID situation we're talking about. So that you won't believe that I think 7 to 8 months that no journals Several journals we could not get. And that because several the factories, they could not run because of the COVID situation, you might be aware. So the people got all round limitations, that the handicappedness we are talking about. So thus it seems that the Ministry of Human Resource Development, University Grants Commission, All India Council of Technical Education are in the process of right directions, but now that need to be speeded up by amending accreditation process, by employing variety of parameters. We should not live in the past. And also evaluation process that demands different methodology and clear guidelines, and mainly the mindset. You have to come out of that mindset, the mind block we are talking about. It is the right time come out of that. And it is felt that online education carry many advantages, which we could see, but few to mention. That many advantages, but few we can mention, I believe. So to combine classes or courses so as to have lectures from best teachers, the globe, anywhere, anytime basis. What we are doing now, anywhere, anytime you can learn. If you have a laptop, if you've got internet access, and if you have downloaded this particular app, it is that way. So the physical, that limitations, that gone now. So the physical infrastructure of college or school or university will have less impact on education. All models are shattering now. See, public transportation. Come on, Ola, Uber came. Your investment model in terms of luxury car gone. Swiggy, Zomato came. Your kitchen is likely to, you're going to lose your kitchen in future, I believe. So the Amazon, the Flipkart, Snapdeal came. Ultimately, what happened, right? Going to domestic, that shops or shopping fund, everything comes to your doorstep. All those apps, that of course e-commerce, that you got the Google Pay, Paytm came, even for all your banking, transaction, you got the app of that particular bank. Of course, you do everything by simply using your mobile phone. That's all. So the whole way of life is undergoes, the phenomenal, the change we are talking about. Of course, the COVID situation, that made us to realize the importance of it. So the physical infrastructure, you don't need it. Otherwise, even if you say the roles will be limited, it's going to be a new hybrid model we are talking about. So on education, and thus directly on the cost of education, and it will have its own impact on the cost also. You can save cost, you get more time, and you can also learn new skills. Productivity goes up, and you've got variety of choices also. You're open to, the universal platform, of course. It opens new vistas in that way. So it will be delivered by IT infrastructure and quality faculty, and also the pedagogy we are talking about. It is that way. There you have to blend. Your role is to connect. It is that way we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, so review meetings, parent-teacher meetings, the subject conferences, all will be, that location, that will be location agnostic, that it's not location dependent. It's not, that infrastructure dependent we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, that way. So the real vision of, that new education policy for liberal education, new education policy for liberal education will get executed where a student can carry out courses from any college or university based on quality teacher we are talking about. It is that way, that so the real, that's what, that liberal education, what, what it is part of new education policy we are talking about. Of course, it's happening now. It's especially through this, that online education, as well as, the technology assisted, the digital, that education programs we are talking about. It is that way. So student can carry out courses from any college, or university based, that on quality of teacher and fees for the course irrespective of the location. All these, possibilities, and finally we'll get degree from the home university. Even abroad university you can enroll, through online education. Ultimately, that you get your degree we are talking about, and they've got their own tie-up with local universities here. So he or she got, that registered from the university where he or that she has taken maximum courses. It is that way. It is personalizing education. That's what Mark Zuckerberg says. What about personalizing education? It is not, that university decides, that this course you have to undergo, even if you've got that bent of mind. But you personalize your education. And you are the authority because you got choices. It's a liberal education we are talking about. So as conceived by new education policy, that's realistic with the support of, the very digitalization program. The concept of digital university we are talking about, that it has come into existence. It's not will come, it has come into existence. We are talking about. But to draw out above, a drastic change in thought process is required. To cope up with new challenge, you have to come out of the mindset. You have to access the technology. There should not be a capability gap we are talking about. Or there should not be infrastructural gap, affordability, accessibility by government side or as an individual side we are talking about. So drastic change, the thought process is required. A new mode, a new way of life, which includes, the change in mindset of, the policy makers, authorities, and various, the bodies relevant to that, and especially educationists we're talking about. As I sit and talk in front of you, you should not say, that only I can speak in front of audience. How come I can speak without audience? But that all audience are, that you have to assume that way, like speaking, actor, drama happens, na? You focus on camera. Of course, it's going to be viewed by several crore people. Yes, you should, you should come out of that mindset. It's the physical infrastructure may not be there, but you have to assume, that demands mindset. It is that way. So faculty selection shall be linked to the technology friendliness. Of course, you got domain knowledge, but what about that? So to bring out that domain knowledge so that it reaches the consumer in the other end, the students in the other end. Of course, you should not have that some sort of inhibition when it comes to technology. You have to come out of that, and minimum skills and keenness for technology adoption we are talking about. The ability to learn and the ability to change we are talking about it that way. So similarly, that we are talking about accreditation parameters, the criteria, that are needed reconsideration. We spoke this point. So the parameters of, that awarding, that the grades should change. It's not infrastructure dependent. And even evaluation model should undergo phenomenal shift. Especially the industrial experience for directors and vice chancellors of institutes and universities, need to be included. It is that way, that, and accordingly guidelines to be amended. It's not, mere, that your degree, now your exposure to the technological world, your ability to adapt to the change, the digital India, digitalization, the digital initiatives at the global level, national level, regional level, so that it can be employed, so that it can benefit the students who are the beneficiaries ultimately. So it is that way. So industrial experience, that so your exposure as director, vice chancellor, or universities, that to be included, accordingly guidelines to be amended. We are talking about that plays key role here. It's not your domain knowledge, that your PhD somewhere, that you are HOD somewhere. So what you're going to do with that? You understand the practical nuances, that on implementation. So it is fair that that now the role of parents, especially mother, that will increase more for educating children. How the kindergarten, oh my God, the KG kindergarten kids are, that ultimately given online education. They can't even handle smartphone. So the parents' assistants, especially mother's assistant, at least third, till third class. That otherwise they will touch everything. That it's the internet connection, right? The child lock should be there. So it should be parents assisted program. Otherwise, that the kids will be the misled. That they don't know. That young minds, ignorant kids, may not be knowing. Otherwise, that what happens, right? You are what you watch. Maybe that any one of the adult member watch something in the smartphone. The kid is watching. That it will come as suggestion. Oh my, if you open, that your Facebook, immediately what are all the postings available? I will tell your nature. Because you are what you watch. What you watch, accordingly, suggestion will come. You just imagine if adult mobile phone is going to be utilized for kids, it's gone. Oh, the stuff, and also, that the vulgarity. Of course, the kids, that the prohibited, the scenes, whatever may be, that may not be proportionate to that particular, the kids, the view, we are talking about. So, child lock will be appropriate, and otherwise, mother's assistance. It is otherwise separate mobile phone meant for that particular purpose with child lock. We're talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that that's fantastic. That we took you to the greatest. That the topic, of course, we are talking about. That several things to be. That I can't restrict myself. To just that this the 2.5 hours plus the talk. Several topics are there. In spite of that, I think I gave some sort of overall view when it comes to that India's digital mission or digital India or digitalization program. that in what way it is responsible for overall, the transformation, and also, that a new culture has, that entered into, that Indian citizens we are talking about, in what way education sector benefited out of, that the very, that Digital India program we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So I think, that you had fair idea and the important role played by general studies with which we began. The context decided by the previous year question. Of course, the 2020 question, the 15 marks question, that gave me this opportunity. I got inspired by this. So digital initiatives you have to understand, and given COVID new normal, in what way we reap the benefit. Of course, it's called digital dividend, and various, that the World Development Report, and various UNESCO report, and also, that annual survey of education report, and various reports, even HDI, and the various reports we took into account, that facilitated the context why you need the digitalization program, that for all round, productivity maximization, that it is that way. So, that as said by several people, like, so, that it's parallel, there comes, it's before ensuring internet penetration, we have to address the persistent gaps in terms of, that any nation, that in terms of poverty, in terms of, illiteracy, in terms of gender justice, and in terms of, the gap between, the rich and poor, widening inequality, or in terms of the balanced development between rural and urban areas. Unless until we resolve all these issues, it may not be possible. The same thing will get reflected in terms of the incorporation of technology also. That is a judgment. Of course, that's what, the Kaushik Basu, the Kaushik Basu, the great economist, of course, part of international organization, World Bank, and also he was chief economic advisor to the Prime Minister, and also Dr. Amartya Sen, and also, the several international organizations and their efforts in such a way, unless until we eradicate those issues. But that's possible in short span of time with the support of technology. Of course, that as we discussed in the beginning, right, the self-reliance in technology, that's the panacea. That's going to be the solution. Of course, that's what Pandit Nehru believed in. Of course, that Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Dr. Kalam, Dr. Satish Chandra, everybody, even till date, Dr. Shivan, we are talking about part of ISRO, and other, that the scientists of, that different, the spheres of life, and different, the scientific establishments we call, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that. Of course, now we are practicing ultimately. So thanks to the information communication technology revolution, of course, when comparing with China, there is a gap. And when we talk about internet penetration, 50% of the people yet to access. There is a gap between the rich and poor, as well as rural and urban, the gap we have to address. And not only that, several benefits, that, so even COVID situation, direct benefit transfer, the JAM, we are talking about Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, Aadhaar, as well as, that the smartphone access we are talking about. And in the education sector itself, we spoke, ladies and gentlemen, 29 initiatives, that we discuss. And several things we spoke, you might be aware, ladies and gentlemen, in what way education, the challenges, that we overcome. We have overcome, that you might be aware. And, that you don't need, robust infrastructure. And what is the point, that, but the IT infrastructure is must if you want, that letter and spirit, that implement, the digital initiatives, ladies and gentlemen. And it's going to be, the hybrid model hereafter at least. So even accreditation centers, that they have to work towards, that a new kind of, parameters when it comes to evaluation. And even we got the support of, that World Bank based World Development Report, and also the solutions that the government came forward for PM Vani. What is that? Wi-Fi access network interface we are talking about. And also, that the Digital India, in what way it benefited, we are talking about. And, that how the enrollment issue, that otherwise, the ratio differs. And also, that the quality education, that offered by private and, that as well as, the government educations. And, that through survey we come to know, that we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So the few initiatives, that overall Digital India, Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, the JAM, DigiLockers. And we also restricted, that how the beneficiaries, that this is government records we are talking about with proper statistics. We took, ladies and gentlemen, and also, that how the World Bank, that a 2013 report, the shared prosperity, that's getting reflected in terms of, the environment, the Kyoto Protocol, Paris Climatic Agreement. We have gone to, that ultimately, the sharing the fund with the developing and underdeveloped world, $100 billion fund, that in discussion. And also, that how the share and care, the prosperity sharing, that when given the fact, the poverty itself became, impersonal goal, how come sharing may work? There comes another question. In spite of that, now it is working. But the seed sown in World Bank adopted report, 2013 report we are talking about, now it's happening. That is German. So it is that way, that what is the point ultimately, that using the technology for inclusive governance, or digital, technology for, that inclusive development. So no section of the population is left out or left behind. So technology facilitates, hitherto the decades old problem. So, that in short span of time we are solving, that why that is the, the power of the technology we are talking about. And necessity is mother of invention, so that we build, it's very vital. The role of technology is very vital for the better world we are talking about. So it's not only addressing the digital divide, and in what way we can benefit more by digital dividends, where we have to work out. We spoke at length, ladies and gentlemen. And also, that the very, that information communication technology we benefited more, but more than India, China benefited. And why it's possible? Because of internet access. We have to ensure that. We're talking about, at the same time, the world of, the big data. Data is a commodity. The people should not be manipulated. There comes, that the role of the government to ensure privacy when it comes to, that the information usage. Thanks to Right to Information Act, democratization of information. But thanks to, that now we have to thank again the government for, democratization of technology. And that way, that so all these things can be possible, that only with, the government keen, with the new parameters, with new mindset, with new policy, new programs we are talking about. It's already started performing, it's working, we are talking about. And also, that ability gap on the part of individuals, we have to work out more. So several initiatives, that from, the present ruling dispensation we are talking about, in terms of broadband, public interest, public internet, information, for everyone, early harvest, universal access, IT for job, e-kranti, e-governance, everything we spoke, ladies and gentlemen, and making, zero import when it comes to electronic manufacturing. And also how the Prime Minister Modi ji, that his reinforcement of the point that technology first is the governance model. And, that also talking about, and the best minds in India, as well as the biggest market, that available in India, in what way it can be, that work in favor of, that India, the taking advantage of the very, that information technology or digital technology. And also, that making our, that local technological solutions to reach the global level or global market. It is that way. So the very new culture has been created by the digital, the mission of India, and also the robust mechanism to be created as by Supreme Court of India. When it comes to other related case, the right to privacy is also part and parcel of fundamental right we are talking about. So the robust mechanism when it comes to cyber security and cyber related crimes, that we have to, and appeal by the Prime Minister of India towards Indian youth to create, the device or robust cyber security solutions that could effectively, vaccinate the digital products against cyber attacks and viruses we are talking about. But also the ready to face the challenges, especially the disruptive as well as big, the challenges in the sooner, the very short span of time, the sooner than expected it's happening. So how prepared we are. And also linking with, the delivery of, the services meant for citizens, the very advantages of technology, especially the financial sector, the way with which with smartphone, with internet connection, you can do anything. So that life is as simple as that. Today, it's because of the digital India, digitalization program we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, in the banking sector, everywhere, even the government subsidy mechanism reaching poor, even the COVID situation in what way we did, that made us to realize, that the very effective role played by, the technology and that to internet connection, whether it is entertainment, whether it is, information dissemination from government side, and whether it is health sector and that to social sector, the health and education sector, the government took advantage of this technology. So that, but people should participate, then only it will become, that so the government role is to, create a platform in such a way the people, so that people trust and make it trustworthy. All these things, we discussed at length, ladies and gentlemen. And also the telemedicine and tele law schemes, and also, the reliable digital system of, that the welfare that we are eyeing. We are talking about, we discussed all those things at length, ladies and gentlemen. And also, that in what way the very technology can be utilized in terms of, that reducing the mortality rate through accidents. We're talking about the health sector, the very app Ayushman Bharat. Of course, what we couldn't achieve by, the planning commission, that the targets of universal health coverage, of course, we did through Ayushman Bharat. Of course, that the very component, one of the important components of universal health coverage, conceived by 2022, of course, access to free essential prescription of drugs. We did it, ladies and gentlemen, and we are talking about. And not only that, that the very COVID situation, that what are all the ideas, got implemented. It's experimental basis that worked in favor of us well also, ladies and gentlemen. So, that the citizen-centric services would be a good place to start. And also, that with time, the deadline, the time-bounded, it should be time-bounded. Ladies and gentlemen, that we are talking about. For that, we ensure that our internal process of administration ready to absorb, that all those initiatives. We discussed at length, ladies and gentlemen, and also the challenges, that we witness in terms of education sector, in what way we could overcome with the support of, the very, the digital India or information technology, ICT, information and communication technology, and also with internet connection, that. So what you need, one smartphone, internet, that connection, that, and also the app of that particular purpose we are talking about. So the very context we spoke, that given poor performance in terms of human development index, there comes our responsibility. The Ministry of Human Resources and Development working towards it. Even the very UNESCO report talking about, the COVID situation, do or die situation created by that. Of course, the COVID pandemic, and that demanded, that every nation to plan and organize, and also, that to fine tune their policies so that, the people are not losing the benefits of their career growth, that given, the difficult situation under lockdown we are talking about. So effective role played by, digital technology we're talking about, so the more efficient, productive, and, the professional skills or learning of knowledge, all things, they became possible by online, the mechanism, thanks to the digital initiatives, by Indian government we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, that's fantastic. We spoke at length, I believe. Yes. It's not only you, me, the business houses, education institute, educationists, analytics, computer power, data management methods, online education solutions. Everybody, that were forced to work in tandem to improve upon the quality, delivery time, so as to handle, that such situations, desperate times, desperate measures we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. I think it is the right time. You got everything, ladies and gentlemen. You got, that all those important points, and also the demand of the time, geographical limits of the campus of school, college, university, because you don't need infrastructure. Given online support we are talking about, we emphasize that particular point, that you got freedom, you got choices when it comes to, that learning. Of course, you can personalize your learning, customize your learning. What do you need for that? One smartphone, internet connectivity, telecom infrastructure, affordability of, online system, availability of laptop or desktop we spoke. This is apart from smartphone, and the case dependent. The software, education tool, online assessment tools. That's what you needed. You don't need, robust infrastructure for that. So that's a lesson we learned out of this COVID situation, and we survived because of that. That way, several initiatives taken by, the Ministry of Human Resource Development. We spoke at length. Swayam, the MOOC, massive open online course, the ePath Shala, and also YouTube channel of, the CEC, UGC, and Vidwan, that, and as well as, NEAT, skill enablement, and National Digital Library, everything, ladies and gentlemen. And also, that issue, that the scheme like, free and open source software for education, spoken tutorial, e-yantra, Google Classroom. I think, that we discussed at length. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank, that HRD ministry for this efforts also parallelly. That is a part of this ruling dispensation, and we have to ensure more, the internet penetration. That's the greatest challenge too, ladies and gentlemen. So for that, that all those, entities, MHRD, UGC, AICT, they have to work together. Ladies and gentlemen, they work fantastic. It is that way. I think, that, so what we envisage through education policy, that the very liberal education became feasible with the support of the technology. It's almost, that the digital university came into existence we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And also, that the very, the mindset should change when it comes to the people part of, that the policy making or evaluation process. And also hereafter the recruitment, whenever we recruit vice chancellors or any, that we have to ensure that another thing, your exposure to, the digital exposure or technology, that employed, that experience, we have to consider that particular parameter also. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's fantastic. Hitherto, what we spoke, that about the digital India, digital transformation, digital India as a new way of life, and how that's digital nation, that when it comes to the purpose of delivery of goods and services to the people, and the challenges that we could overcome because of digitalization program initiated by India. That too, 29 initiatives when we talk about education sector, the digital technology supported. We are talking about, of course, we discuss at length, ladies and gentlemen, and several articles relevant to that, through editorials, guest columns, part of Hindu, Indian Express, you can go through, and also the debates of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, especially programs like Big Picture, and also get the support of commercial guides and reference texts, even the textbook, the NCRTs may support you to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, it is more of current affairs oriented. So, that you come to know, that this particular topic, ladies and gentlemen, this is fantastic. Let me appreciate you for your passions and perseverance. Ladies and gentlemen, with the blessings of the God, I think, that this is my humble attempt to touch that, the information, but given, the time span of time, I have to restrict somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, several things can be discussed. This is my humble attempt. I gave some foundational information. You can build superstructure on that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacted with you so far. Of course, please use my referral ID Success to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go for either Plus program or Iconic program. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch my lot of videos already available on the part of Unacademy. Whether it is that highly scoring popular optional subject sociology or ethics and integrity, part of your GS mains, or the very essay paper, or topics of international relations, even that. So having downloaded the Unacademy learning app, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch my lot of videos, MCQs, last 5-year questions we have solved, cutting across different segments of GS, even the mains portion. Ladies and gentlemen, several questions came the recent exams, that of course you can benefit more. You watch and link with previous year questions, you come to know. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate your participation. Once again, this is Success Sampath Hidoto interacted with you, saying goodbye. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, with another topic. Ladies and gentlemen, one more important information. We will be again meeting in the afternoon, not afternoon, especially evening, 5 to 8, with another topic also. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We will get, that you will get more benefit. Let me work towards, adding value when it comes to your UPSC Civil Service examination preparation. Appreciating you once again. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have the rest of the day fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.